So what we're going to talk about today?
Whatever.
Maces,
Yeah, man. Whatever you want.
maces, CK Maceworks. What's new with the CK Maceworks?
Uh, Not a lot is really new. We're just cruising along. Um,
Yeah.
we got our Black Friday sale. We're kind of gearing up for. It's always kind of a
Ooh.
fun time. We do a pretty good one. We had a really successful one last year.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's cool. I'll be very
Nice.
busy for a minute.
Oh yeah. So just so you know, I went live on YouTube.
Nice.
I'm also going to record this convo. All
Right on,
right.
man.
So hello everyone. Welcome back to another RazeBells conversation. I'm blessed with the presence of Nathan Cambron,
What's up,
Mr.
everybody?
Mr. CK Maceworks himself.
I'm just half part of it. I'm just part of it at this point,
Half of.
Yeah, half of it.
So does your partner make the maces like you do as well, or is or
No, no. So
so
it's my I guess
you're the laborer behind everything as well.
yeah, which is the way I like it. So
Oh
it's
yeah.
my partner, it's her name's Kelly Rongo,
Hmm.
and she's been a part of it pretty close to the beginning. And she's just a badass coach. She's also she's the one that built the website and does all the social media stuff and all of that,
Oh,
all the
okay.
back all the background smart stuff, as I would like to say, where
Hmm.
I'm just over here doing my thing, and I just make them,
And swing them.
make them and swing them and pack them and ship them.
I just saw you doing 10 to 2s with 54 pounds. Single hand
Yeah,
10 to 2s. My
that's pretty.
goodness.
That's been a fun development this year. I never, the weight's been going on those more and more. And it's super funny because I really attribute it to doing more like the bodybuilding style training. Um,
Hmm.
just getting more arm strength, is kind of what
Yeah.
it comes down to. Because I mean,
Right.
that particular movement to me, more than any other one, if your triceps aren't
Look at that. Look at that arm,
pulling
dude.
hard, and your grip
Look at
strength.
look at that arm.
Hey, take it easy. We just
I can
started this
tell you,
interview, Dana.
you've been doing some bodybuilding. I see
We've
you.
I've been trying, like I love kettlebell sport. I'll always love it. But I was like at my peak last year with kettlebell sport, and at some point in the winter, my dad said to somebody, "You wouldn't know that Nathan works out almost every day." And I was like, I might have to change what I'm doing.
I
It's
was going to ask you what made you. So just for a little background, Nathan and I met February of 24 when we came out to OKC for the World Championships for the IKO.
mm-hmm,
And you were doing 24s there, long cycle,
mm-hmm.
and you were pretty heavy in the game. You're doing your
Yeah.
May stuff too. And then all of a sudden you took a step back. And I was going to ask you what prompted that, but you just answered
Well, that was
it.
the big one. And I mean, when you getting into the 24s for me, because I'd done several 10-minute sets with the 20s long cycle, and the just that next step into the 24s was just so much harder,
Hmm.
like just everything. That was when I really, not that, I mean, I was completely focused on kettlebell sport doing the 20s, but the 24s for whatever reason for me was just a whole other level, where like strength needed to increase, mobility needed to increase, endurance needed to increase, like everything across the board. And it
Hmm.
was, you know, there was no room for me to do anything else. So, like, really what derailed it, like I said, that comment my dad made. And
Hmm.
then I just added in some like bench press, doing my
Hmm.
like strength training. And my pecs grew the tiniest bit, and my rack position completely fell apart. Like that's
Hmm.
all. It took three sessions of bench press, and I couldn't rack the bells right anymore. So I
Wow.
was like, you know what? I'm just gonna step back. the training is so intense for kettlebell sport, and I've been doing it pretty hardcore for 4 years.
Hmm.
And I just wanted a break too, I
Yeah.
wanted to go.
Yeah.
I still lift the bells twice a week. I do just short little interval sets, to try to keep
Hmm.
that, because there's just nothing conditioning wise like moon cycle, in my opinion,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
especially moving like the 28s or the 32s and doing short little sets, 5 reps, 6 reps on the minute or whatever. It's a lot of fun, and
Oh
you can
yeah.
really just bury yourself in it and not ever hit those walls of fatigue like you do in long
That
sets.
that lactic threshold.
Yeah. And here, like a month ago on a Sunday, I was like, I'm going to try some 2-minute sets with the 24s. And I did
Uh-huh.
3 and I about died. Like it was
Really?
just, oh, dude, it was so awful. Like I did 3 and I was just going into that third one. I was like, man, like just the level of training and commitment you have to kettlebell sport to get to those higher echelons is just, it's a lot,
Hmm. Oh yeah.
and there's no way to maintain that without doing it, and
Yeah.
I haven't been doing it, so
Hmm.
it was brutal, but it was fun, good eye opener. um and I know how to get it back when I want to, which I plan on
Of
going back
course.
at some point. uh
Yeah.
but we'll just see.
So taking a step back from the sport, you're hitting only maybe 1 or 2 sessions a week with bells. What does a training session look like for you these days? Are you following a program? Are you on like a simple little bro split? What's going on with the training?
So it's, I mean, I've kind of made up my own program a little bit. I kind of got like a push pull day, upper body, and then like what I call like a vertical day. So
Hmm.
like some leg training, and then like pull ups and shoulder presses, and uh,
Okay.
and then the third day will be my conditioning day, which will be the kettlebell sports stuff, and I just repeat that twice a week. I don't have a lot of time to train during the week, so it's
Hmm.
easy for me to train a lot during the week because my sessions are no longer than an hour, and that's including warm up. So like
Hmm.
when I tell people, I train 6 days a week, it sounds like a lot, but it's really not
Right.
that much,
Right.
compared to some people. But it's been working
So a
out
session
pretty
is about an
well.
hour long.
Yeah, about, and probably not even most of the time, like 50 minutes. It depends on how fast I get my ass moving in the morning, which is never very
Hmm.
fast,
Yeah.
because I get up early during the work week. Um, which, I listened to your interview with Denning, and you guys were talking about that. And just so everyone knows, I don't like doing this. It is not something that's easy for me. I just, it's just the best option for me to do it that way because,
Hmm.
you know,
Training in the
I,
morning, right?
yep, training in the morning. I get up at 4:30, mess around, have some coffee, walk my dog, and then I'm usually back in my gym, kind of ready to start warming up around 5:30.
Hmm.
Which I started doing this 8 years ago, and just as I've gotten older, it's just harder. It was just harder and harder to do, to get going that early. So
Right.
I have like an hour buffer, and then
Hmm.
kind of get down to business, and it works out. It's really nice to have it done. Um,
Hmm.
and then I can go to work, and just whatever happens at work doesn't matter, because
Yeah.
the one thing for me today is done already, which
Yeah.
makes the rest of my life a lot easier to deal with.
Hmm.
And it's just something I started doing a long time ago. My alarm goes off at 4:20, and I lay there and contemplate all my life decisions, and then make myself get up before the next one wakes my wife up. And then it's not optimal. A lot of people talk about that, but
Well,
it's the best. It's just what I got to do right
it's
now.
just what works for you, you
So it
know?
works for me, and it's
So what time are you done? So about an hour, so 5:30 to 6:30. What time do you actually start work?
7. I
Okay.
live really close by, luckily. You know,
Mm,
um, and I mean, I've built this whole morning routine around the fact that I start work at 7.
right.
It's like if it was any earlier, it wouldn't work. I'd have to figure something else
Hmm.
out. But
Right.
yeah, I just run out of here 5:20, 5:25, jump in the shower real quick, throw all my stuff in my lunchbox, and out the door I go. And
Out
then
the door.
out the door, and I go, do what a lot of people consider a manual laborish kind of job. I'm on my
Hmm.
feet all day. And that's just the thing. When I get off work, man, the last thing I'd want to do is start trying to lift.
Come home and train.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, dude. I mean, you know
it is
exactly.
tough. Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, you know
Oh yeah.
exactly what I'm talking about. Doing what you do,
Yeah.
you probably have a lot more intensive days than I do. Working doing a heavy duty steel fabrication like I do, everything's so heavy, you don't pick up a lot of stuff, you know.
That's exactly what I was about to say.
Yeah.
With elevator stuff, it's like we have machines and
Hmm.
chain falls and things like that. They kind of do a lot of the heavy lifting for us.
Yeah.
Now, there are those little things like, I mean, we are moving around, equipment and material and we do lifting, but most of the heavy stuff is being lifted by, Thompson motors, mini
Yeah.
floors, chain falls, things of that nature, forklifts. Um, I did have to move a machine last week. We used the elevator, an existing elevator, to get a 4,000 pound machine up to the top floor. Then we had to use our our sled dragging and pushing capabilities on a uh, forklift or a little pallet jack,
No,
and
nice,
we're
nice.
like pushing this 4,000 pound fucking machine on 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 carpet, no less, right? So
Oh.
it's a pain in the butt. We had to get it down to the stairway where we had a chain fall lift, to lift it up the stairs. And then once we got it up to the top stair, stop the top part of the staircase, we kind of just put it back on another pallet jack and had to, maneuver it through to get it to the machine room. But and that honestly, that took it took a lot of energy and it took a lot of time. And because at one point we get to this part of this hallway that is like super tight, and we did when we had it come off the chain fall, we kind of just set it on the pallet jack and it wasn't setting like evenly. So we're pulling and we go to try to maneuver it through this little tight portion of the hallway and it slips off the pallet jack.
Mm,
So then we took an hour of, having this big pry bar we call Big
yeah.
Bertha, trying
Yeah.
to pry it back up onto it's just a lot of stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's fun stuff. Speaking
Yeah.
of early morning training, when I was in the Army, I did a job to where every 6 months we would change shifts. So I would do six a.m. to 6 p.m. And then when we had the shift, I would have an overnight shift. So a 6 p.m.
Hmm.
to 6 a.m., right? And when we would do the 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., by the end of the day, I was so tired, right? So me and a buddy of mine, changed up our training regimen. We would wake up at 2:30 in the morning
Mm,
and be at the gym by 3:30, starting our
mm,
workout, and then to work by 6. And we did that for a good amount of time. So I didn't actually mind it too much, because
dude.
it kind of preps you for your day.
Hmm.
And in that way, at 6 p.m. when I got off, I could just go to the chow, eat chow, and take my fat ass to bed.
Yeah, man. So, and that's something too. Like, my Kelly's hounded me about sleep forever. Because she knows how
Hmm.
early I get up. She knows how important it is. So I've been I let myself sleep in on the weekends till,
Hmm.
I still, last night, it wasn't even 10 o'clock and I was asleep and I woke up around 7. So, I don't track it or anything, but, 9-ish hours.
Hmm.
But it is way harder for me to get going when I sleep like that.
Hmm.
Like on the weekends, I'm not in the gym for 2 hours after I get up. And it's always like one of those things I get a little, not anxiety about it, but it's like, man, not that I wasted my morning, but sometimes I wish I was a little more stoic about it on the weekends, which when I first started doing it 8 years ago, I would still get up at 4:30 Saturday and Sunday,
Hmm.
and I did like it, but at that point in time, my son was younger, and we were taking naps on the weekends, and I think that's the only way I managed it. Is like
Mm,
we just shut the whole house down Saturday, Sunday, 1 o'clock, and me and the wife and the kid would take a nap. Because
mm.
I was thinking about it, I was like, how did I do that back then, you know? And then I finally
Yeah.
remembered. I was like, oh yeah, we were taking naps both days. That's probably how you survived, you know. But now kids are older, so we don't do that. So I was like, man, it's just such a tricky thing. We all want more time in the day, so you got to just figure out
Yeah.
how to do it and what works for you. I mean, I recommend everybody that if they have a hard time training in the evening to just do it, you know. Because for me, when I started getting up at 4:30, it was exciting in a way because nobody else was awake. You know, it
Hmm.
was just like no
Doesn't it give you
interruptions.
that like mental advantage? Like
I think it does.
I know everybody else is sleeping and I'm out here
Yeah,
getting it.
yeah. It's just like of course, Jocko Willing, was
Oh
part of
yeah.
it.
Oh yeah.
And then I was working, so I worked for this crane company here in Boise, and there was a guy that would work with me, helping me weld stuff. And he was 10 years older than me, and he was in really good shape. And
Hmm.
he would give me a hard time about it, all the time. I'd be pulling on something, and he'd come help me, and he'd be like, "You've been working out? Because I can tell you haven't." And it was just one of those things. And he got up at 4:30. And so, it was one of those things where I was like, dude, if he's doing it, I just got to do it. I have this moment in my brain, this memory of right around my 30th birthday, and just being overweight and weak and tired, and just being like, dude, I have to change something. And like, we had been in our new house for a year probably. And so our garage is just full of boxes. And I just went on Facebook Marketplace and just started looking for weight equipment. And like right away found some guy selling a barbell and plates and a bench press setup. $100, come get it out of my garage. And I was like on it. And that's how the
Yeah.
whole thing started. I started training that way. And then over the years, so that was like 2017, doing pretty bodybuilding kind of stuff. And eventually started seeing more kettlebell stuff. And on Marketplace, I found a guy selling, they're cast iron bells, but it was like a 12 through a 32, one of each. I was missing a 28 and a 20, but I had a 16 and a 24. I think I can't remember exactly what I was, but I had a 32, and he was selling those for $200, and it was kind of the same
Oh
thing. I
wow.
was like, I'm on my way. I'm coming to get this stuff from you, And he was all
Nice.
broke. The dude was moving, and he's like, I can't bring 300 pounds of weights with me.
Yeah.
But that's what started it for me, and just getting more into the strength and conditioning kind of training helped me. I needed to lose weight and just get kind of in better shape. And going along what I was saying earlier, now I'm finding these workouts that are 30 minutes long and just smoke me. And then I can go to, I don't have to have this 2 hour block to
Hmm.
train. And then I found, Joe Daniels, and then Levi Marquardt. And then the rest is
Hmm.
that's how I got into kettlebell sport, was working with Levi Marquardt. And and I remember him telling me something, because we were just doing, I started getting coaching from him. It's kind of GPP stuff. And he was getting pretty hard into the kettlebell sports stuff and talking about how hard it was. And I was like, I want to train for a competition. And he's like, well, he said, it's a very noble pursuit. And I was like, oh, that's cool. And then, it was cool to have something to focus on, because I'd never really
Hmm.
gone through that. Having like a goal and a date, those two
Right.
things together, and
Hmm.
knowing that every training session, regardless if I want to do it or not, or how hard it is, like we're going somewhere, is why we're doing all this. And it was really cool doing that, and that's one of my favorite things about kettlebell sport, was having the competition coming, and knowing, because
Hmm.
I like the deload weeks before would just piss me off like every time,
Yeah.
like everybody, I like being in the trenches, working hard
Uh-huh.
every day. And then you hit that week where you're like, yeah, you're training 50%.
Yeah.
you know, but
It almost builds up the anxiety for the competition.
oh yeah, totally. It can for sure, you know. Which is what was so awesome about meeting you down there in Oakland, and everybody. That was such a cool moment for me. that's the other part of my little break is it's just training or traveling is not in my cards right now. Like
Yeah.
my wife's on her last year of law school, so I'm the only one.
Nice.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. She
She's gonna be your sugar mama.
operation. Yeah, yeah. That's what I tell everybody. Operation Sugar Mama. It's 20 years in the
Hmm.
making, but we're almost there. But so when she's working, next year, it'll open up a lot of opportunities I probably can't even imagine right now, to travel and to get into more stuff. Because I did a bunch of competition video sets in the garage by myself,
Right.
and it's great and everything, but it just that atmosphere down there in Oakland was so awesome,
Yeah.
and like
It's just
that's what
not the
you
same.
no, that's what you want to do. You want to go lift with all
Hmm.
everybody that's also doing it, in a big group like that. And it was just that whole thing was so fun. So I'm really
Hmm.
looking forward to getting into that again sometime in the next few years. Just pushing it again because it's fun, and
Yeah. So where
it's
does your mace training fall into all of your training now?
so. And no one told me to do this. It's just how I kind of adapted it. But I was always, at first, especially when you're learning the mace, it's hard to really swing it a lot, and it's hard to swing it heavy. It takes a
Hmm.
lot of time. So I'd always kind of warm up a little bit and then swing it after the kettlebell training. Because that's kind of why I got into it, because I was having tricep issues, getting all knotted up, and someone told me to try swinging a mace. It'll help stretch them out, and it did. And so I've always just done it at the end of my training sessions. And it's
Hmm.
one of those things, especially when you get into the heavier weights, like doing those heavy single arm 10 to 2s, that can wreck me for a couple days.
Hmm.
There's no way you're doing that and then like, hitting some heavy bench press after, like it
Right.
just, so I always do it at the very end of the session, and I kind of just mix and match what I'm swinging and what loads I'm swinging,
Hmm.
and gets kind of progressively build it up. The 54 pounds earlier this week was kind of on a whim. Like I did some single arms with 40. I was like, I didn't
Hmm.
feel that felt pretty good. I think this might be the
Yeah.
day. And then like I talked about
Nice.
my time limit, I'm looking at the clock and I'm like, I'm putting plates on the weight on the mace, and I was like, it just bummed me out because I have some 1.25 pound plates, and I weighed it after I did the swings and it was 54, and I've been really wanting to
Mm.
hit 55. And I was like, oh,
Oh,
but
so
it's okay.
close.
So close. We'll do it
It,
again in a
it'll
couple
be there
weeks
next week.
probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I did have to figure out when to program doing that, because like I did if I do heavy single arm seems to do it worse than anything. Like the day before I do heavy pressing, it wrecks me. Like I lose like
Yeah.
15-20% of pressing power. So
I bet.
I gotta do that part kind of carefully and not just be full meathead all the time, which is,
Yeah.
what we all want to do.
Oh
But
yeah.
that's one of the things with it. I do my training and then I swing the mace, and I want the mace to be what ends it for the day. Like you do
Hmm.
that until your arms are just floating, and
Shaking.
you're like, okay, okay, that's good. We're done. We can go now. And it's a good tool for that. It really does
Hmm.
that well. Um,
Now,
but
are you
it's
doing like timed intervals with your maces, or are you just doing reps?
mostly just reps.
Yeah.
I'll do some time stuff every once in a while, but I like hanging in the heavy crowd. So
Hmm.
I've never done a 10-minute set with the mace. I've done some 3 minutes, maybe even a 5 minute at one point, but it's so light, you know. And I liken it to like doing snatch, where it's like
Hmm.
weird parts of your body fatigue while you're doing it for that long at that load. Like it'd be more of like a grip thing, and then like your triceps will get smoked,
Hmm.
which happens doing the heavy sets. But I just like the meathead part of just doing, let's
Oh
do a
yeah.
max effort set of 10. That's what I like
Hmm.
to do.
Right.
Um, and I tell everybody too, the grip strength is, I think, from the mace more beneficial than anything, because it's like you're holding that handle vertically, and
Hmm.
to get it to where it's not sliding in your hand in the backswing, because I don't know how to calculate that arc force, with a load, but it's a lot, as
Yeah.
as anybody that swings a mace knows, it's an intense thing in the backswing, and then you get to where you can hang on to it. And I've just never really had grip issues with any of the kettlebell sports stuff. Um, I did develop some tendonitis last year. That was also a thing with me taking a break. And I think it was just my crappy snatch technique more than anything. I think I was,
Oh yeah, because you were trying to do some biathlon stuff, right?
yeah, I did biathlon. I did a biathlon block for a couple months last summer. And to be honest, I mean, I didn't care about snatch at all. I wanted to get through a 10-minute set of jerk with the 24s was all I cared about. But I'm just a traditionalist that way. And I'm like, I'm not just going to do just jerk. I got to snatch
Right.
also, and
Right.
between all of the stuff, that is one thing I'll say about the mace. If you do go into the heavier weights and you're trying to do snatch with kettlebells, is you can run into some grip overtraining for sure. And I think that's just what I
Hmm.
did. And I just got that golfer's elbow, or that
Yep.
transition, that tie in from the tricep into the forearm would get in flames,
Hmm.
and no train. I mean, in the end, I think it was dips. I think that also really aggravated it. I was doing a ton of dips at the
Really.
time.
Hmm.
Yeah, that was the most obnoxious thing about it is I couldn't iron out what was doing it. You
You
know.
know, for me, when I've developed that tennis elbow uh, in this kind of area as well, not from kettlebell training, but from my weightlifting days, skull crushers,
Mm,
anything with a stretched tricep extension, that would
hmm.
really bug it. But the way I found the way around that, there's this I sent the workout to you.
Yeah, that pullover
That
extension.
pullover press, yes.
Hmm.
That's like, dude, that exercise not only blew up my triceps, but like, I mean, gave me man boobies that was like to die for.
Nice, nice, nice. And that's such a beautiful thing about all of this, all the physical training stuff is everyone's individual body type finds
Hmm.
things that they like and they want to do and works for them. And it's just like the endless possibilities, are so fun,
Oh
because
yeah.
there's just endless things to do, which is always funny to me when people get super dogmatic about one form of training over another,
Hmm.
just like
You know,
we've
I'm
all
kind
seen
of,
the
go ahead.
oh, it's just we've all seen the rage bait kettlebells are stupid posts, and I'm
Yeah.
like,
Oh
well,
yeah.
I love it when you're coming from guys that have never used one,
Yeah.
like I don't know what you're talking about, and you don't know what you're talking about either. But most kettlebell people won't tell you that barbells are useless, like
Yeah.
because we all know that it's all just depends on what you're trying to do.
Right.
Uh, but it's just a funny thing is there's an
Yeah, that's
endless
a funny
variety.
this little it's a funny little part of this like counterculture type of thing.
Hmm.
Like one culture is like attacking another culture. It's just like it's weird to me.
Yeah, it's super weird to me too. And that was like a thing when I was getting coaching and trying to.
I kind of feel that way about the hard style versus sport people too.
Yeah,
It's
a
like
hundred
this is
percent.
so weird.
Yeah, a
It's
hundred
just
percent.
kettlebell lifting.
Yeah, and I mean, it took me. I'll admit, a long time when I was even getting into kettlebells, mostly because I was following Joe Daniels pretty closely, and
Hmm.
he's not overly dogmatic about either.
Yeah.
And it took me a long time to even figure out what he was talking about the difference between hard style and sports
Hmm.
style. And it's just, I mean, it all just depends on what you want to do.
Right.
Anyone clean and pressing a 48-kilo kettlebell, that's impressive.
Fucking
Uh,
impressive.
yeah, dude, I don't care if it's a cast iron bell or a comp bell. That's a cool
Right.
thing to be able to do.
Hmm.
And just I was doing mostly a weird mix of hard style stuff when I got into kettlebells. Lots of swings, lots of clean and presses, and it like changed everything for me. So I can never
Hmm.
like crap on it. But then it's at the same time you look at what it takes to snatch even a 24 for 10 minutes with one hand switch, and you're like, well, that's a whole other thing. Like
Yeah.
that's not something, because there's strong guys out there that maybe have never picked up a kettlebell and they can come up and grab one and clean and press it. But there isn't anybody that can walk up and do double long cycle with 24s for 10 minutes. It's never done it before.
Right.
Like you have to train to be able to do
Mm-hmm.
that, which is one of the things I liked about it, is like it's a very unique echelon of people that can actually do it and do it, well, at least get into like the amateur category with the 24s for the men. Cause I mean, it's hard. It's hard. You can't just do that, like
Mm-hmm.
the mental aspect, the conditioning and the everything else. But as we all know that do it, it's the mental side of it more than anything.
Oh yeah.
Be able to just push past those walls and just keep going. Because every time I talk to guys that are struggling and they're like, minute two, I just want to stop. And I'm like, so do I. Every
Right.
10 minute set I've ever done, I have that voice and it gets real loud in my head between 2 minutes
Mm-hmm.
and 3 minutes, even at Oakland, dude, in front of all those people, five
Yeah.
guys on the platform. And my brain was like, this, yeah, you got some
We could put this
video.
down.
Yeah, exactly. We got some video, you're here in front of everybody. You did it. It's like, no, you just got to keep going. You just got to keep
Right.
going. Um, which is
Sometimes
the,
between that 2 and 3 minute mark, I look at the time and I'm like, damn, it's only been 2 minutes. I still got
mm-hmm.
like so much more of this to do.
Oh yeah, dude, it's evil. It's an evil thing, and then you hit that 5 minute mark and you're like, hey, I'm not dead. I'm not dead. All right, we'll just do
Yeah.
another one, and the way I always did long cycle in my mind was, you jerk them, breathe for just a second, and then just, all right, just drop them and clean them again. And then you get in the rack
Mm-hmm.
and then you're like, okay, now we can contemplate things a minute. And then
Mm-hmm.
the seconds roll by and it's like, okay, time to just, we got to do it again. Just do it one more time. Just that one rep at a time, which is
Mm-hmm.
where it gets so hard when you start trying to get into those faster paces. And I always tease Angelica about that because she likes to go so slow,
Uh-huh.
and I'm like, I don't know how you do that. Like I like 6 hour, and that's also because I don't have that natural rack that she does, that
Yeah.
lots of people do, where she can just chill there for that long.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah,
I
I
got
think
it to
she said
where,
something about the rack position just became like a second home.
yeah. And I had that. I had my moments with that last summer to where it was at least manageable, and I could really get my elbows on my belt good. But it's still like 10 seconds there was too long. I didn't want to be there that
Yeah.
long. So I had to always kind of keep the pace a little bit higher, which looking into like training with the 28s or even the 32s, you're like, you can't, if you want to go 10 minutes, you're looking at, a set of 40 or something. And it was like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, dude, that's like so much time just sitting there.
Mm-hmm.
But, and that's just all part of the beauty of it, is who can do it and who, what things you got to work on, because it's
Right.
endless.
Oh
And then
yeah.
you'll see, Alexander Klosik sent me a video. I think he's some Slovakian dude. I don't know, Eastern European somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And he was just such an animal. I think he did 90 some odd reps with 24s long cycle. And like he had like a hard style rack, like elbows out, and was
Uh-huh.
still jerking them. And I'm like, dude, like there's those people
You
out
said
there.
Alexander?
Yeah.
Is
Kettlebell
that kettlebell
aerobics.
aerobics?
Yeah.
Yeah, this
Yeah, he's a
guy's a
good.
machine.
Yeah, he's an awesome dude. He's super smart. And I talk to him pretty often,
Mm-hmm.
because we both like the intensity of kettlebell sport and just the focus you have to put into it, and
Mm-hmm.
how it's hard. It's not an easy thing to do, and you have to
Right.
just go into these hard sessions, knowing that you're going to do a 7 minute set and then a 3 minute set, and then you're going to do a 50 rep set of back squats, and
Mm-hmm.
like the mental part of that stuff is just so brutal.
Oh yeah.
you
Yeah, I
know?
think I had a chat with him last week. I think I'm supposed to have him on next weekend.
Yeah, that'll be good. That'll be a good interview, because he's
Yeah, I
cool.
think so.
And he's
I I particularly well, one, I think he's a machine. He does great work in kettlebell sport. I think he thrives a little bit on this controversy, little controversial things. So
Yeah, he does.
he'll take his negative comments and he posts them on his story and he like gives this big he crashes out at these people. I'm
Yeah,
just like this
you
is
know,
this guy. I gotta talk to this guy.
yeah, and he's like he's trying to make some money on Instagram, and like everybody, and so
Yeah.
he doesn't do rage bait stuff very often, but every once in a while
No.
he'll
I saw
participate.
it was like a 2 week thing there. It was like
Yeah,
almost every day I was seeing it from him. I was like, this guy.
and he's one of those dudes too. He can talk some pretty good shit because he's got
Hmm.
he'll
Well,
show
yeah,
you he's
he's doing it.
deadlifted super heavy. He's got pretty solid powerlifting numbers for like
Hmm.
you know and stuff I can't do, and it always
Hmm.
so he's got room to talk some shit, because he can't
Yeah,
be
for
like,
sure.
oh, well, you're some guy that can't deadlift 200 kgs, and he's like, I've deadlifted more than that, and you're like, well,
Right.
you know, which is always awesome when you see people from other sports get into kettlebell sport because they're like, it looks easy, and you're like, what? Like, what about
Yeah.
that? What about that looks easy? You've never done, especially guys coming from powerlifting when it's like your one rep max at the most could take 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Like some super grind back squat or something, and you're like, you're talking about 10 minutes. Like,
Hmm.
what are you talking about? It's going to be easy. And then
It's really no comparison there.
no, there's nothing like it, which for me is such a struggle too, because like I think I can maybe manage like some double biathlon right now, but it's just not a 10-minute set. So I'm
Right.
like,
Right.
that's just not the same thing. Is that 10-minute mark for me was like
Well,
the
I'm
whole
sure
point.
if you did 16s, you could knock it out. You probably keep one of them in the back pocket.
Yeah, and it's with the 3-minute set part, just the way my mind works. I'm like, it's just still not. If I'm going to do kettlebell sport, I'm probably going to do long cycle or biathlon or double. I need to do a
Hmm.
double half snatch set at some point just to say I did it. But it's for me, it's all about that 10-minute mark, because I mean,
Hmm.
5 minutes is obviously impressive for anybody when they get to that point, but you're like, that's only halfway, that's the half.
That's the traditionalist in you.
Yeah, exactly. And it's frustrating sometimes because I'm like, there's a whole other world out there of kettlebell lifting where
Yeah.
they do different things.
Hmm.
And I've done some like 20-minute single arm multi switch stuff back in the day, work training with Levi.
Hmm.
And it was cool to do it, but parts of me are like, dude, I don't need to make anybody watch me lift for 20 minutes or for 30 minutes.
Right. Right.
It's like my other thing. And I just think there's a beauty in the 10-minute set where it's like, dude, a marathon takes you 2.5, 3 hours or longer. I'm like, 10 minutes, 10 minutes and two kettlebells. That's all you need. That's
That's all you
all
need.
you need. Your whole like train for 6 months for that one 10-minute moment. Uh,
Hmm.
and that's what I like about it so much because you get all of it. You get the physical requirements to do it. You get the mental war that 10-minute sets are, and then it's over and you can hang out again.
Yeah.
And you're back to
And
just
everything goes back to normal.
yeah,
You're just a
everything goes
little
back
more
to normal.
shaky afterwards.
Oh yeah, dude. Like that was the funniest thing with that set I did in California. My right knee hurt for like 3 months after that.
Really?
Yeah, yeah, and I have no idea why. I was just some weird jerk probably there at the end or something. But then
Yeah.
like Nakona wanted to go on like a recovery run after because his set was right before mine, and then
Hmm.
just while we're jogging around the block, I was like, oh man, something's something's locking
Uh-oh.
up in there. But now, and that's what's cool now is my whole body feels a lot better now. I think I was
Yeah.
just kind of training too much. I was getting pretty beat up last summer.
Hmm.
With like I was saying that tendonitis and then knee aches here and there. But I mean, we're all doing something that the risk is there. Because
Yeah.
I
That's
definitely.
some of the I wouldn't say issue that I'm having now, but it's like I'm thinking about so I'm having issues with double jerk right now. It's
Mhm.
bothering my shoulder. Even I just attempted a 10-minute 16 kg jerk. Last week I
Hmm.
did 7 minutes and got 84 reps. I went to go do the 10-minute, and minute two, my shoulder on this side was just locking up.
Mm.
I don't have any, I have zero issues out of single bell work, right?
Hmm.
So I was like, I'm like thinking to myself, oh man, I want to like put my focus maybe in the snatch and pentathlon. It's all single bell work. It's comfortable, even though it's hard. It's a little more comfortable than the doubles, right? And it's like
Hmm.
that traditionalist, though, he's like, doubles are king,
Yeah.
and it's just like, I'm trying to get over this little mental obstacle of mine and just be like, is it really that big of a deal?
Yeah, it's tough, man. It really is. And the shoulder issues are always so hard. I do a lot of shoulder mobility stuff, and obviously all
Mm-hmm.
the mace work helps shoulders a ton. But yeah, I've luckily never had any injuries, really, So, I mean, have you had like an old injury or anything in your shoulder
Yeah, I
or?
have a torn labrum. So it affects
Mm.
it back here into that just, every once in a
Yeah.
while I'm coming up and it hits a sticking point right here. And
Gotcha.
every test that PTs have put me through all point to labrum.
Yeah. Damn, man, that sucks. Is that a surgery thing? You gotta,
Yeah. So
yeah,
it's
that's,
like, it's just a matter of, do you want to do a surgery or do you
mm,
just kind of, you know, and it's like I'm not a doctor or anything, but the cup where the humerus sits in, it's the liner
hmm.
of that cup, right?
Gotcha.
So it has a tear and maybe, they call it like a
Something.
little flap. Yeah.
Yeah.
And if that flap like turns the wrong way, it catches that humerus, that ball, and it just makes it want to pop or
Mm.
click or, yeah, it locks it all up.
That
So
sucks,
every once in a
man.
while I'll get that nice little flare up. And then, but again, double or singles does not affect it whatsoever.
Yeah, so it must be some sort of compensation thing
Yep.
somewhere.
Hmm.
How does the mace feel on it?
Singles can't can't really go over the 2 5-pound plates.
Yeah.
So you're with the caddy, I got the
Hmm.
2 5-pound plates on there, and I can hit singles with that, but I don't push it, beyond that because even every once in a while it'll catch when I'm bringing this
Yeah.
arm up.
Mm.
It'll catch, and I'm like, ooh, that one didn't feel too good.
Well, and I mean, having that on there, so you got the whole mace up to around, just under 20 pounds. That's still
Mm-hmm.
pretty solid. You haven't been swinging the mace for that long. I mean,
Mm-mm.
it took me, I remember when I first swung 20 pounds single arm, and I remember when I hit 30 pounds, and those were all
Mm-hmm.
pretty, like when I had, yeah, so I remember 4 5s on the mace and I single armed it, dude. And I felt that stretch from my neck to the top of my butt crack,
Oh man.
like just nothing ever like that. And that was when it was kind of more eye opening to me about the benefits of the single arm mace work.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, don't ever sweat the load on there,
Yeah.
just because it's always doing something. I was mostly curious because we had a guy send us a voice recording of talking about how the mace, he had like a really frozen shoulder, and he was
Mm-hmm.
talking about I don't think he had anything diagnosed, but like he just like couldn't lift his arm up past probably here. It's kind of what it sounded like.
Mm-hmm.
And he had like a 25-pound mace, fixed weight, but it was just too hard for him to really use. And he got one of our mace handles, and I think he started out with something super light, like a 2.5-pound plate on the end,
Right. Mm-hmm.
and just swinging that thing. He ended up over a few months got like full mobility back in his shoulder.
Really?
Yeah, like he was
Wow.
pretty broken up about it. Like he was pretty.
Yeah.
uh and it was really cool to hear, because there's like we've had a lot of stories about that, like with different people and shoulder injuries and things like
Mm-hmm.
that, and then they start using, not that there's super magic in what we make, but something that you can adjust that weight as you need to, because eventually that light weight's just not going to do what you want it to do anymore. Um, But the motion of the mace swing and the magical stuff it can do for certain shoulder conditions seems to be kind of
Hmm.
endless, you know. But obviously, you can't fix everything, and I'm not a doctor either. But it was really cool to hear this guy talk about that. How you know
Yeah.
he thought he was wrecked for life, and then he got his movement back. You know, because he was saying
Hmm.
he couldn't throw a ball, like he couldn't pick his kids up, all sorts of stuff, and then he started
Oh,
swinging the
wow.
mace. And he got it all back, man. It was pretty cool. It's
Hmm.
cool to hear.
Yeah, I'm a pretty like overhand thrower,
Hmm.
and it's like I just got my daughter into softball, you know. Well, she's been doing it now for a couple of years, but she's always wanting to play catch, and I love playing catch. I love ball, right? That's what I
Hmm.
grew up on. So I'll go out there throwing the ball around with her, and I have to really watch how I throw. If not, like there's been a couple times where it's like, oh
Hmm.
shit,
Dang,
you know,
man, that
it's
sucks.
where it bothers me for a couple days. But you know,
Well,
it is. I
book a
mean,
trip, get to go down to Panama and get some of those good stem cells pumped in there.
I was
You know.
gonna. I had a buddy of mine. He's out in Austin, Texas. Well,
Hmm.
sorry, Dallas. He's down in Dallas, and he military guy. And he's like, dude, I'm thinking about going to Mexico and getting some stem cells. And I was like, ooh, let me know. I'll take a trip.
Yeah, yeah, dude. I mean, I've heard, as I'm sure most people have at this point, there's a lot of miracle stories about it out there.
Hmm.
Which is, it's, you know, of all the, I always remind myself of all the issues we have this day and age, you know, what they can do in the medical field.
Hmm.
There's no time better to be alive than right now, you know,
Yeah,
because like
I agree.
there's there's so many things we can get fixed now that, you know, 200, even 50 years ago, they're like, well, you're just fucked up now. You know?
Yeah, pretty much.
And it's
Sorry
like,
about
no,
your
we
luck.
can, yeah, we can fix most everything. You know, talking about injuries and stuff. And I mean, I strained my SI joint this summer being a
Mm.
meathead. And it was like this couple weeks where I cut my finger really bad at work and then hurt my back. And it was just like one of those moments where I was like, dude. And that SI joint thing, man, like I've been able to start, you know, I've been slowly building up deadlifting again and squatting again. But that, because it would mimic sciatica pain
Mm-hmm.
in my right leg.
Mm-hmm.
And like I had to take a couple days off of work and it's just like that's the last thing I ever want to have happen again.
Oh yeah.
So you
Mm-hmm.
know that's like the worst part about all of this is you just never know. You know, every time you see a
Right.
video of some veteran lifter getting hurt, you know, he didn't
Yeah.
know that was coming, and like it's just
Right.
always like, how hard do I want to push? You know, flat barbell
Right.
bench press. You know,
So you hurt that you strained the SI joint at work or during a lift?
during a lift, I was doing trap bar deadlifts.
Oh.
And I keep telling myself, I was like, I cursed myself because I strapped up on the trap bar, you know. And I was like,
Oh, okay.
I was like, that's just bad mojo. You shouldn't strap up on the trap bar. But my finger was hurt, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and it was a plethora of things. I'd had some issue going on in my glute and low back for months. It would come and go. Like I'd be squatting and I'd have a rep feel weird, and then I'd
Mm-hmm.
just really focus on form, and
Mm-hmm.
I would get around it. But then this one Saturday morning, and like I said, it was a magnitude of things. You know, I always warm up on the fan bike and do a bunch of stuff, and then start with the bar, 45, 45.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I had done the bar with a 45 on it, and then put another 45 on each side, and then went in the house for something, and then came back, and I hadn't pulled that, and I threw a 45 again on each side. It was something,
Oh.
yeah, it was something dumb like that, like just a pure
Mm-hmm.
mistake.
Right.
But there was more. I had like 360 on there or something, and I did a few reps, and I was like, man, that was heavy.
Oh shit.
And then went for set two, and I was 2 reps in, and just let's pop and just dump me on
Oh.
the ground. And I'm laying on the ground, you know, and I just start moving around, and okay, you're not dead, you know, start doing like whatever I can do, lunges and everything
Mm-hmm.
to try to move some blood through that part of my body.
Right.
And I was just kind of crippled for a couple days, but I wasn't totally immobilized. And then my low back actually started to feel better by like, so that happened on Saturday, and by like Tuesday, Monday, my low back actually kind of felt better. But then Tuesday at work, like I was just getting these pains in my knee, like a growing pain times 100, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I can't even, like, I had some really what we call gravy welding to do, like nice easy stuff to where you can just really make some nice pretty welds. And I almost
Mm-hmm.
couldn't, I couldn't do it, you know, because just
Yeah.
sitting still would make this pain flare up. And I was like, I think I got to go to the doctor. I got to figure this out because this hurts so bad that I can't even
Mm-hmm.
focus, you know.
Wow.
And you know, and it was one of those things, like there was some things to reflect on, some mistakes I made, you know, and I was already pushing it, you know. I was injured, and I was like, that would have been a perfect time to like deload for a couple weeks,
Yeah.
you know, focus on other stuff. But I was like, no, I gotta do it. You know.
That sounds like some ego lifting there, bud.
Oh yeah, you know, the old
Which is so easy to do
mm-hmm.
with those kind of lifts.
Oh yeah, you know, and we all, you know, social media, we all see what these animals are doing all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, will my life improve day to day if I can deadlift 400 pounds? I don't know, you know, probably
You'd be
not.
able to go, you'd be able to walk around and say, I deadlifted 400
Yeah,
pounds.
I'll be able to say I did it, you know, but
You're
like in the
right.
grand scheme of things, that's like the fun part about all of it, is really trying to decide what your goals are and
Yeah.
what they're gonna do for you. Which I also tell everybody with the kettlebell sport training, you know, because you get such good grip strength, and you get that muscular endurance. You know, like when it comes to when the zombie apocalypse happens, I hope I've been kettlebell sport training, because I know I could put a heavy backpack on my back and hike all day. You know, because
That's right.
I've done stuff like that, and just training with the kettlebell sport. You know, I carried my daughter up a literal mountain up here north of Boise. You know, I mean, she was 35 pounds, but still, I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't like I was rucking or anything. You know, and I
Right.
just carried her up that hill. And
Carrying a child.
yep. And you just don't really get that from anything else. You know, that
Right.
muscular endurance, or at least I haven't experienced it from anything else.
I agree.
And I'll just tell everybody, you know, 'cause like I said, you can get that grip strength, which we all know is super beneficial to day to day life, and then yeah,
Mm-hmm.
all the other stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah, man.
that's some wild stuff. The benefits, I mean, for me, uh, you know, exactly what you're talking about. The stamina to go all day, and then
Hmm.
to be able to come home and I'm working out after work, so you know I'm coming in, hitting workout, and then kids got stuff, softball, uh, dance, boys playing, wants to play
Yeah.
soccer. It's a ton of moving parts all the time, and I just feel like
Hmm.
you know from the kettlebells alone, I'm able to just cruise on through.
Yeah, because you're also, I mean, as hard as it is on you, you're never like, you know, we've all done those days where you do like some marathon leg session, you know, like real bro split style, and then you're crippled for
Mm-hmm.
3 days, you know, and I'm
Yeah,
like, I can't be crippled. I need to be functioning, you know.
exactly.
I need my training to like benefit my life,
Mm-hmm.
which you know, part of like when you're asking me about what I'm doing now, I train legs like twice a week.
Mm-hmm.
It's like enough to get some good stimulation and build strength, but I'm never crippled from it, you know,
Yeah.
because I did when I got back
You can
into
you
it a
can
few.
sit on the toilet in the morning time and not have no issues.
Yeah, you know. And like I did this one years ago where I did like, you know, a bunch of squats, and then a bunch of lunges, and then a bunch of Bulgarian split squats. And then I went to work and I had to crawl underneath this crane all day. And it was
Mm.
just the most miserable thing I'd ever done. You know,
I
it's like
bet.
every time I crawl under there and I realized I didn't have a tool or whatever, and I'd have to crawl out and like stand back up. and just my
Mm-hmm.
legs were just so smoked. And I
Mm-hmm.
was like, I don't need this in my life. I gotta,
Yeah.
I gotta figure something
Yeah,
else
I've
out.
been there.
Yeah.
I've definitely
Um,
been there.
and that's a fun thing too with the kettlebell sports stuff is you get that weird mix of a like weightlifting, like a pump and that runner's high. Like I've
Mm-hmm.
always described it as like a floaty feeling, which
Yeah.
you get to ride, which is also fun when you train early in the morning because then you go to work and you got that floaty feeling
Yeah.
going for like a couple hours, and it just
Mm-hmm.
really makes any stupid shit you got to deal with just not really that important,
Yeah. It's kind
or
of
at least for
irrelevant.
me. Yep, you're like,
Right.
whatever. Nothing that's going to happen here was as bad as what I just did earlier. So,
Oh yeah.
yeah,
Oh man.
it's good
Yeah,
stuff.
the mental relief that you can get from kettlebells also, that's
Yeah, for
exactly what we're
sure.
talking about.
Hmm.
It just makes everything else seem so eh.
Yeah, yeah. Especially when you got like some good programming going and like,
Mm-hmm.
you got like manageable, but an increase in workload, but it's manageable. And so like, when I was training with Nakona, it was just every session was just like a win, the way he was
Yeah.
programming for me. I never went into anything with like fear of not completing it. It was like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
we're doing 5 minutes tomorrow, 8 RPM, 7 if you gotta. And it was like, yeah, all right, that's what we're doing. And then you'd have that victory right out the gate of the day was always awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Even though he did spontaneously give me some 10-minute sets over the year and a half I worked with him, because like
Oh yeah.
sometimes I'd go to bed and I'd be looking at Excel and it wouldn't be on there yet. And so I'd wake up to it. I'm
Oh
like, 10,
man.
10 minutes, you know. But like I
No
said, it was
time to prepare.
yeah, but it was always manageable.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just one of those ones like I'd be walking my dog thinking about it and like, all right, I guess that's what's happening today.
Oh yeah.
Didn't know that, but it was always fun. And especially like I said, you get that victory and just prove what you can do, and
Mm-hmm.
it's an awesome thing mentally.
So being a guy, when you first started coming up in kettlebells, you were following a lot of Joe Daniels.
Hmm.
Did you ever get programming from him or you just buy his programs?
I bought a couple of his little programs. Like I got one spreadsheet which it has like a bunch of single bell ladders on there,
Mm-hmm.
but I never got coaching from him. But I,
Right.
I I I give him credit for so much of my kettlebell intro stuff, because
Yes.
I never lifted with anybody else in person really until the OKC competition. I've done all
Mm-hmm.
this via tutorials on Instagram and YouTube, is
Mm-hmm.
how and
Yeah.
talking to people.
Mm-hmm.
I've got some good buddies that would let me know when they're like, don't do it like that, you know,
Right. Oh
which
yeah.
I always was very thankful for because that's the
Mm-hmm. Of
last thing I
course.
want to do is do something, especially as finicky as kettlebell sport really is.
Mm-hmm.
And just to do it wrong, and have guys be like, there's a lot better way to do that.
Yeah.
And of course, we all develop our own way of doing things, but there's some
Yeah.
obviously basic things that you need to
Right.
practice and
There's
learn how to do.
there's getting the
Yeah.
principles down, the foundation, the
Yeah.
fundamentals. There are
Yeah.
fundamentals that really doesn't change
Mm-mm.
throughout anybody's, no matter what type of body type you
Yeah,
have.
exactly. And it was,
There's some things
Joe.
that just don't change. Yeah,
No,
but anyway, go ahead.
it was like Joe Daniels had some really good stuff on the proper
Hmm.
insertion.
Yes.
And even with the cast iron bell, that 45-degree
Hmm.
insertion is what you want to do. Um, and so that was cool, learning all that stuff. Because it was like such a coming into it from the outside and just being like, it's such a niche, interesting thing where there's so much technique involved
Hmm.
that it's not like a brute force thing. Like you gotta learn how to do this, which is
Right.
what I liked about it so much. Because I was like, I might not be naturally strong or naturally talented, but I'm stubborn is one thing that I am,
Hmm.
you know.
Hmm.
Uh, which is perfect for kettlebell sport because that's what you need to be.
Absolutely. Hmm.
You got to be able to just keep going and
Yeah.
just
Take a kick in the
practice.
ass and keep it moving.
Yeah, that's it, man. So yeah, he had Joe had tons of stuff like that on YouTube. Like it's endless stuff, on
Hmm.
this is how to properly do this. This is how do you want to do that, blah, blah, blah. Like that's where I learned about keeping your upper arm attached to your torso.
Hmm.
Um, before I even really knew, about trying to dig your elbow into your hips on jerks. And it was just simple stuff like that. And then obviously as you get into it, my buddies would be like, you really need to get your elbows closer together so you can bump you with your hip bones. And I was like, what?
Hmm.
And then I started figuring that out, and like that light goes off, and you're like, oh my God, that's so much easier.
I'll probably say it until the day I die. Your clean into rack double bells is the most, it's the cleanest clean I think I've ever seen.
Well, I don't know about that, but I mean, it's something I've practiced a lot. And like, it just always came kind of naturally to me. Like it was never
Hmm.
like the technique things I had to work on early on for cleans were always pretty minimal. I know that.
Hmm.
But yeah, thanks, man. It's just one
Yeah,
of those
of
things that's always
course.
been, and that's also why I always like long cycle, because I was like, because rack just jerks just killed me, like coming
Hmm.
down back into rack, and like my rack wasn't where it needed to be forever.
Hmm.
And I mean, I'd get into, a minute, 2 minutes into a jerk set, and my elbows would just be sliding off of me, and my shoulders would be on fire,
Hmm.
and just getting that relief of doing the clean and letting my arms extend and getting all that blood to flush.
Right.
It's like I can do
Right.
that. I can do that. I can do that. Whereas jerk is just such a fixed monster of a movement.
Hmm.
But then that was like really cool. Last summer, I did a 10-minute jerk set, and it was the first time my wife ever actually watched me do a whole 10-minute set because I was like, I need someone to click and count for me. And so
Hmm.
she came and hung out in the garage and watched me lift 2 kettlebells for 10 minutes and counted 80. I think I did like 82 reps or something, but I did the 10
Nice,
minutes with,
dude.
it was 10 minutes with 24s. And that was like a huge check mark in my mind. I
Oh
was like, oh
yeah.
my, I did it. I never thought I'd be able to jerk 2 bells for 10 minutes. But like I
Hmm.
said, I had the mobility was there. And it was also one of those things too. Like my body weight had to be under 215. Like if I got a little loose with my intake, and I put any weight on, it would go right on my stomach, and it would just push my
Hmm.
elbows out, and it would just mess the whole thing up. And so it was like, a pretty cool thing to have happen.
Yeah.
But then my snatch set, I think I did 119, and I had that tendonitis. I didn't even know that's exactly what it was at the time, but like my forearm was just cramped up 4 minutes in on my left side. So
Hmm.
I did 6 minutes with my right hand, but just went super slow just because I wanted to do
Yeah.
10 minutes. But yeah, it was cool. I can say I did long cycle and biathlon with 24s. So I've done that.
Yes.
you know,
Which is a pretty amazing accomplishment given that, you're not out here, that's not your job. You're not
no,
from sun up to sundown. You don't go and live in a gym. So you going to work and coming home,
yeah,
being a dad, being a husband, and then you throw this in the mix. It's like that's pretty good.
yeah. Well, I appreciate that, man. And it was, I got into this stuff too at 33,
Yeah.
and so like not one of these Russians that we all compare ourselves to that was lifting kettlebells. And I think I'm pretty sure
Grade
Dennis.
school,
Yeah, yeah, I'm pretty sure Dennis Vasilev said he was in like fifth grade or something. When they
something
first
like
put
that.
kettle, and it's like that is a whole other thing when you've been doing it your entire life. You know,
Hmm.
because that's like me with welding and fabricating. I started welding when I was 15.
Yep.
And I'm 38 now, so I've been doing that longer, over half my life.
Hmm.
So it's we have.
Speaking of turning wrenches, that's what I mean. Anything
Hmm.
mechanical, I'm always like, I'm turning wrenches.
Yep.
I was going on jobs at 10 years old with my uncle on the weekends
Yeah.
because he did a ton of side jobs. He would work
Hmm.
his regular, he was a diesel mechanic, so he'd work
Oh,
in his
nice.
shop all week long. he would do side work throughout the evenings during the week, and on Saturday and Sundays he would drive out to places working on trucks. And better believe it, if it was the evening time or a weekend, I was mostly trucking along with him.
Nice, nice. That's awesome. I had my dad did and he still does, but he does sprinklers and landscaping, which I also attribute to me learning how to weld. Because once you dig ditches for a living,
Oh
something like
yeah.
welding, you're like, I can make more money doing welding. That sounds like a way better idea, you
Right.
know. And my uncle owned he owned an excavation company, and they where him and my aunt lived was right near their yard. So
Hmm.
like I'd see all the heavy equipment and I'd see guys welding on stuff, and I never knew anything about it, but I was like, that's super cool. And
Yeah.
then when high school came around, we have a really, really good vocational program here in Boise. And I was able to sign up for welding class for 2 classes a day. And like the second I
Hmm.
made sparks with a cutting torch, I was like, oh, that's it. That's fucking
This is
awesome.
it.
you know?
Yeah.
And it's still just
You
to
know,
that day, to this day, I love everything about it because
oh yeah.
it's not that it's an overly complicated trade, but the individual is a big part of it.
Hmm.
Like
Hmm.
to make good looking welds, you have to try, and there's
Oh, absolutely.
like
Yeah.
and there's just no ways around it. And this is what I like about it because you can tell me whatever you want. Because at work
Hmm.
we hire guys all the time and welding. Like I run their welding department in their shop, but
Hmm.
they do shoring and large diameter drilling. And so like these guys a lot of their guys have to be able to weld at least a little bit to repair drilling equipment and stuff
Hmm.
in the field. And so like we get guys all the time that are like, oh yeah, I can weld this, I can weld that. And I'm like, don't even just go get your hood and then we'll see. And
Hmm.
you start welding and I'll know within a few minutes if you're lying to me or not.
Yeah. Hmm.
Because I've been around long enough at this point that there's no.
Right.
It's just always funny to me because like, why are you lying to me? You know?
Yeah. Boogering up beads and shit.
Yeah. Oh yeah, dude. We get some guys sometimes. And I'm like, dude, I don't. I know we're a crane company. We're not like some giant
Yeah.
fab shop, but like, dude, like we're also like a big crane company. Like we don't mess around.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I repair their
I mean,
big lattice boom cranes and stuff. Like pretty
that's what I'm saying. You
critical.
gotta, you exactly.
Yeah,
Yep.
we
That
do
stuff is
critical work.
extremely important. Hmm.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so it's
Well,
just always super funny to me.
yeah. I so like I was just saying, 10 years old, I'm working on, going to jobs, working on trucks with my uncle. He would have me,
Hmm.
changing, he taught me how to change oil, and I'd have to be the one taking the
Hmm.
plug out, emptying the oil, put oil in, changing light bulbs, this stuff, right?
Hmm.
Very easily, it was so easy for me to just, for years I worked on diesel trucks.
Hmm.
Even in the military, I went in as a diesel mechanic. And it's so funny. He just passed away. So I was
Hmm.
just down at his services, and his brother comes, which is my Uncle Jack. And, I've known him. He served, my uncle served, my other uncle that passed away served, I've served, my brother served. Every one of us went into the army as a diesel mechanic.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's cool. Some
It's almost like it
generational
was like,
stuff.
in our, yeah, it's just in the bloodline. So
Yeah.
anyway, I worked on diesels all up through military career. I come home, I'm doing diesel, I'm thinking this is just what my life's going to be, right? Just turning wrenches on trucks, fixing this or that and rebuilding this or that. Uh,
Hmm.
then I got the opportunity to look into the elevator trade, right?
Yeah.
And it's like what you were just saying, I can make a lot more money
Hmm.
turning wrenches, and because I was running the shop making like $30 an hour, which is good.
Hmm.
It's good money. It's decent money. But then I met my brother-in-law at the time. It was my wife's, she was my girlfriend at the time. I met her
Hmm.
brother, and she took me to his birthday party. And we're up at his house. He lives up in PA, got a nice big piece of property, toys out the yin yang as far as like four wheelers and dirt bikes and race go karts for his son, big truck camper, beautiful house. And I'm like, dude, what do you do for a living? Right.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, I build elevators.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? What? I had never even heard of this, never even crossed my mind that, that's a job out there. Of course, you
Hmm.
see elevators, but then it's like you never think about like all that behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah, they
And
do a good
so,
job about that.
yeah, I was like, dude, you gotta get me in there, right? And it's union, so he was like, all right, well, I'll send you whenever the hall opens up and is accepting applications. And that's the thing about this union is they still do everything by word of mouth. So it's almost like
Mm,
you got to know somebody to get in. They don't do any advertising or anything like that, as far as I know.
that's cool.
And it's still the same. It's all they'll send it out through email to all the members. Hey, we're going to be opening it up, you know, taking applications on this day, starting, 4 o'clock in the morning. By 9 o'clock, they said it'll take 200 applicants. By 9 o'clock, it's shut down, dude. That's how
Dang.
it's like, it's so crazy. So crazy. So anyway, I did it. He told me that, the local in DC was opening up. So I put in the app, went through the whole process, took me 9 months, right, to go through the whole process, the hiring process.
Hmm.
Anyway, they called me one day and was like, and they told me that this was going to happen. And I'm running a shop up here. It's called Quest. It's a fueling company. So I'm like,
Mm.
they have all these Peterbilts and fuel trailers, and that's my wheelhouse right there, right? So anyway, so anyway, the hall calls me and they're like, all right, so you're going to start at such and such company, Kone, Monday, right? Or tomorrow. Sorry, tomorrow. It was like a Wednesday,
Oh
tomorrow.
man.
And I'm like tomorrow. And he's like, yeah, do you want the job? And I'm like, yes. But I was in the shop
No
at my
man.
job. And that's how they do it. If you don't take it, then they move on to the next number, right?
Mm.
So I had to I went home and I wasn't gonna do it. I wasn't gonna do it. I was like, I'm comfortable where I'm at. And my
Yeah.
wife's like, if it wasn't for my wife, I would have never done it. I would have shied away and just stayed where I was at. And she goes, you can always go back to turning wrenches and doing trucks.
Yeah.
That is like ingrained. You'll always be able to do that. You'll never know if you don't just try it. So
Yeah,
if it
that's
wasn't for
true.
her, I wouldn't be in the elevator trade. Now I've been doing it for 10 years.
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I mean, that's those are all really good, solid skill sets to have. Like I was gonna say, if you ever feel like moving to Boise, we always have room in our shop for heavy
Oh
duty
yeah.
mechanics, you know.
I did a little welding too, right as I was getting ready to get out the army. They do this thing
Hmm.
called veterans in piping, right?
Oh.
Yeah. So again, it's to push, soldiers and people who served out into the working world,
Hmm. Give them
right?
some skills.
Not just putting you out there. They have opportunities like this, right? So this is pushing to your pipe fitters union,
Oh,
right? And
nice.
it's called Veterans in Piping. So I did the course and I did the welding certs and all of that stuff. And then,
Hmm.
they asked me, okay, where do you want to go? And I was like, all right, I'll just go back to Baltimore where I'm from, right? Well, I get here and the hall here wouldn't put me to work for 2 years. They were like,
Ugh.
oh, we can't put you to work for 2 years, but you still go to school. And I was like, well, am I allowed to get a job as a welder somewhere? And they were like, oh, absolutely not. No,
Yeah.
right? So I was like, well, what the hell am I going to do for 2 years? I'm just going to go back turning wrenches on trucks. So that's what I did, and just kind of let that one fall to the wayside. Then when the elevator thing came up, we got to do some welding in there too. And I did that. I was like, oh, dude, I got my welding cert like 10 years ago now, So I'm up there. We got to weld these, our brackets for the rails.
Hmm.
And, I'm shooting this bead across the bracket, and an experienced welder will come up and be like, man, it looks like trash. It's gotten a lot better now, though, but
Yeah, well, good.
I
I mean,
was
and
that
that's
guy.
all
I was
it
like, oh, I
takes,
could
you know.
weld it.
Yeah. One of those things, like there's a I just don't know at this point because I've never had a break from it. Uh,
Mhm.
but I've seen guys that have like welded before and then they had like some big amount of time where they hadn't. And I've seen them like strike the arc up for the first time in a while, and they're like, "Whoa!" And then
Mm-hmm.
they just need a little guidance, and they get right back in there where they need to
Oh
be.
yeah.
And I've helped, I don't know, 40 guys probably pass our welder qualification here, which is not incredibly hard, but it's
Mm-hmm.
something if you've never welded before, to do
Right.
an actual weld bend test where they weld some plates together and then the inspector cuts it and bends it and see if their weld
Mm-hmm.
breaks. But it's one of those things, like I said, most people, if they want to do it and they want to learn how to do it and they have the right people guiding them, it's something that everybody can learn.
Oh,
Most
absolutely.
everybody. I've definitely bumped into people too that are like, dude, we have tried and I don't think you can do this. It's just,
They,
whatever, whatever gap between their brain and their
oh man.
hand that they just
Look,
can't,
when I
you
first
know.
started the elevator trade, right? These guys are all like, been in 10, 15 years, the guys that I was working with. And one day we're doing something and I make a mistake and the guy just goes, the elevator trade ain't cut out. Not everybody's cut out for the elevator trade.
Yeah, yeah, that's always like that, man. Like,
Hmm.
and I had my moments. My first job out of high school, working for that same uncle I was talking about, but he wanted me to kind of do his whole shop. Like he wanted me to be a mechanic that could also weld.
Hmm.
And I wasn't even doing complicated mechanic stuff, just doing services. But I had those moments. I have this moment I remember. It was December here in Boise, so it was cold and windy. And I was taking the fuel filter off of a Volvo loader and like cut my hand open, my frozen hand covered in diesel. And I was like,
Uh-huh.
I hate this. I hate this. I do not want to do this.
Mm.
And then it was, fortuitous. Like my uncle laid everybody off for the week between Christmas and New Year's. And my dad calls me, and there's this big fab shop here in Boise called Yankee Machine Shop. And he's like, "Hey, I saw Yankee's got an opening in the paper. You should call him." And I was 18 and I called him. And they're like, "Oh, yeah, yeah, come down for an interview." And I just, wasn't working for my uncle. So I did.
Right.
And it was just a great thing, because they liked me. And so funny because this was 2006 and they were going to, or no, well, the end of 2005 and then going into
Hmm.
2006. And they're like, "Yeah, we'll start you out at 11.50 an hour." And I was like, "Fuck yeah." And I go back to my uncle and I'm like, "Hey, Yankees wants to hire me. So I guess I got to put my 2 weeks in." And he's like, "Well, I don't want you moping around here for 2 weeks. Go." And I was like, "Oh man, thank you." And it was just such a great thing. And then, for
Hmm.
me to having had welded in school and then working for him and then to go to an actual big established welding and repair shop, like
Hmm.
I learned so much like that first week, actually working with guys that have been doing this for 30 years, and they're like, "Yeah, this is how you want to do that," because I had all these ideas from school. Because they teach you the basics. They teach you how to weld. They don't teach you
Hmm.
anything about steel fabrication, like at least my teacher didn't at the time. But it was just awesome. I was so gun ho, and I was like,
Oh
we're working
yeah.
10-hour days. I get that first big paycheck, with all that overtime on it. And I was like, yeah, this is awesome.
Hmm.
And and it was a great place to work. I worked there for 10 years and I learned they're one of those companies that does so many things. I worked with their machine shop. I'd work with their field erection crew where, I've seen some of your videos you post. I've done a lot of very similar stuff,
Hmm.
not in an elevator, but we do some bull rigging,
Oh
moving
yeah.
pumps and stuff with chain
Uh-huh.
falls from here to way over there.
Oh yeah.
And all that stuff's super fun. It's all challenging and hard, good work that
Yep.
you I love having a start and a finish, where you
Yes.
get to be part of the whole thing. And we
Hmm.
did all sorts of stuff. And it was also where, like kettlebell sport, like that's where they hammered in the mindset that we're not giving up. Like we'd have jobs at
Right.
Yankees go terrible, and it was like, well, it's not
Hmm.
like we can't not finish it, you know, like we have
Right.
to, even if you hate it and you don't want to do it, we still got to do it. So, you
You
know,
still got to do it.
and it was really good for me that way. Because, you know, when I was a kid, I'd get frustrated with stuff and I'd stop, you know.
Hmm.
And then you go there and you're like, well, if you want us to pay you, you gotta
Right.
keep we gotta get stuff done, you know. You're like, okay,
That's right.
well, I want you to pay me, so I guess we'll keep going, you know.
Yeah,
And,
I guess we'll do it. Yeah.
yeah, man.
Oh, dude. I want to, we just went on a huge tangent about work.
I
I
was
want to
wondering
bring
if that
it
was gonna
back.
happen.
I want to bring
Ah,
it back. I want to talk
all right,
about maces and I want to talk about your fabrication process.
all right.
We know you're a fabricator. Now we've done heard the story. Let's talk about the process of you making these maces and clubs. What goes into
Yeah. So I make them from raw steel. Like I go to the steel supplier and I buy the pipe for the handles. And I have a little old lathe that I bought a few years ago. It's a 1969 Klausing lathe. It was made in Michigan, I believe.
it? Hmm.
And I cut the pipes, I weld the pommel on, and then I machine the pommel and I polish the handle and I knurl it. I do get the nuts, the threaded part made from somebody else. I have made them. I actually sent
Hmm.
out like I had some issues this summer where I made like 20 or 30 of them this summer. And it's just an item, that particular item. They have CNC machines that are just built to make stuff like that. And it's
Yep.
like for me to make them with the stuff I have access to is just not the way to do it. You know,
Right.
I can make them, but like just drilling and tapping,
Yeah.
it just takes me so long to do it. So I farm those out from
Hmm.
a guy here locally, and it's been a pretty cool thing for the guys I've had help me do that part. But then so I have the nuts made, and I buy all thread for the loading pins. I cut that, and I weld our washers onto the loading pins. Then I clear coat them and assemble them, and then box them up and ship them out. You know,
There you
so
go.
it's a beautiful, simple thing.
And
And that's also
how
where,
long approximately does it take to make one?
oh, I don't know if I want to give away all my secrets, you know, but
Oh, okay. All right.
you know, it's not too long. And I always make them in batches, you know. So I
Uh-huh.
usually do like it kind of depends on where we're at, but like 10 to 20 at a time is kind of how I like to
Okay.
do it. But 20 is a lot. I try to send orders out every week and it depends on how many we got. I don't often have 20 orders going out every week. So it's typically less than that. So I do a lot of batches of like 10, you know,
Hmm.
and it's like my labor of love. So I don't like stare at the clock. But I
Yeah.
kind of know how long it takes and
Yeah.
it's a nice
It's one of
amount
them
of
trade
time.
secrets. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, it's nothing crazy, but it takes, you know, there's time involved. I gotta
Hmm.
handle each one and I assemble each one, you know. So there's a bit of my love put in each and every one of them.
That's right.
And then I'm also the guy that takes them and I box everything and I put the bubble
Hmm.
wrap on them and I'll do all that part of it too, which is one of my favorite parts, you know. As a working man, I had moments in my life where I'm like, I would really like to get how do I make money without being burned? You know,
Right.
like
Right.
having to wear boots, you know, and so now I have a whole part of this operation, you know, where I can do it in my Crocs, you know, and shorts and
Oh
a tank
yeah.
top, you know.
Hmm.
But then there's also it's just so annoying, you know, the way it always goes, where like I'll miss something, where something will happen, and I'm like, I was coming out here to just like put them together and paint them, which is something I can do in shorts and a t-shirt, but I got to weld something. I'm like, oh,
Uh-huh.
you know,
So
because
you
I'm
got
like,
to
I
get
don't want
all the
to.
way dressed.
Yeah. And you're like, you know, I obviously I can, you know, handle it, but I'm like, I don't want to burn holes in my tank top and burn holes in my shorts. So I gotta go get my
Right.
stupid pants on and my long sleeve shirt. It's such a funny thing, you know, always trying to have enough extra parts made to where I don't have to worry about that, but it still happens periodically.
Oh yeah.
Or we'll get an order, you know, I'll be like putting orders together on a Sunday, and I'll get an order Saturday night. And I'm like, all right, I'll just
Hmm.
crank out the couple parts to get that one together, and then I can get that in that batch. And because I try not to make people wait too long. But they are a custom made item, so sometimes it's a week or so before I ship them out after someone orders. And
Hmm.
Amazon has ruined everybody, for stuff,
Oh
and they
yeah.
want it, they want it right now.
Yeah.
Some people anyway.
You
Whereas
should put the company on Amazon.
people have suggested that, but there's some things about Amazon I've heard because there are adjustable maces on there. There's nothing
Hmm.
like mine. And I know if I put mine on there, there'd be something just like mine on there coming from
Yeah.
China within 2 weeks. I bet 2 weeks. And I'd
Yeah.
see something just like mine for a price I can't even imagine competing
Yeah.
with. So probably never put it anywhere but our own website. And,
Yeah.
you know, if the dream happens and someone wants to buy us out for $20 million, it'll go on someone else's website. But for now, it's all through us. Just because of those other issues, like I've
Yeah.
always been concerned about certain other entities getting a hold of our design. Not that they could figure out if they wanted to.
Right.
But of all the maces that are available right now, the plate loadable ones, which there's a lot more available now than 3 years ago when we started, there still isn't anyone that makes one like mine.
Right.
And there's just some simple, in my opinion, selling points to mine that the other ones don't have. Like on mine, your plates are always locked between the loading pin and the nut. So even if it
Yep.
comes loose, they cannot come off. Whereas there's a lot of maces out there where their Olympic plates split over, like over the bottom of the handle, and then you have a collar
Oh,
holding them on.
I seen
So
that. Yeah.
when the plates are up, like in order position, all that weight's on that collar. And
Hmm.
if you're not using very much weight, that's one thing. But you get 70 pounds on there, and that's all the weight's on that collar. And I know they make really good collars now, but I don't know. In my opinion, I like having them squeezed between a nut and a bolt, because there's
Yeah.
nowhere for it to go. And it
Right.
works really, really well. Like there's kind of a little technique to tightening it where you just put some weight down on it because there's a rubber
Yep.
washer.
Hmm.
And once it's tight, it's tight. They don't loosen up. I mean, if you whack yourself, maybe they'll loosen up a little bit, but it's really not a problem
Right.
for them to come loose. Whereas those collars, like that's always going to be a what
Yep.
if thing.
Yep. It makes sense.
Where and it's there's some other aspects to it too. Assembling them is I have to be careful because we sell a 10-inch long loading pin, and you can even though I have that nut machined in a certain way, like that loading pin can be crooked on the
Yep.
handle, and then it won't thread in there. So like
Yep. You can cross thread it.
yeah. So I gotta there's a level of skill that goes into just assembling them properly to where they all function the right way, which, you know,
Hmm.
I've got pretty dialed now, but I'll still have ones every once in a while where I fuck them up and I have to throw them in my fixed file, and have
Yep.
to cut the nut loose and move it to where it works right. But it's all
Hmm.
it's all just part of manufacturing. There's always
Yep.
mistakes and things and knurling on a machine like mine at this that's old like this sometimes it's almost like black magic for it to work right because you're
Hmm.
like, dude, it's a machine, it's all dials and knobs, there's no emotion in it, and yet sometimes
Sometimes you
it'll
just got to talk to it.
yeah, and this thing sometimes it just knurls it funny and you're like,
Yeah.
why did you do that? I don't know. And it's
Uh,
even talking when I got into it and I was talking to older machinists about knurling, and they're like, that's just one of those things, man. I don't really know how to tell you how to do it. And it's like, oh,
right.
awesome. That's exactly what I wanted to hear.
Right.
But I've got mine dialed in pretty tight. Like I
Hmm.
actually I swing one of the first clubs I made, and it's got a real rough knurling, almost like a barbell,
Uh-huh.
and it's not awesome. Like it
Oh,
chews your hands up pretty good.
nice.
And so like, now the knurling's not like that. It's a lot
Right.
smoother. It's
Mm-hmm.
enough that you feel it. It's enough that chalk sticks to it. Uh, but it doesn't eat your hands up, like that cheese grater knurling will,
Right.
which I've heard, not to talk down on anybody, but some of our competition had some knurling that was real aggressive,
Mm.
just like a barbell. And like everybody's like, you
Yeah.
almost can't even use this, like,
Wow.
and especially, like single hand into twos, like that handle ends up coming through like so
Uh-huh.
much of your thumb. And if that knurling's really rough, it'll just eat you
Mm-hmm.
up.
Eat that webbing right up.
So, and that's one of those things with me, when it comes to CK, like both of us use these tools
Mm-hmm.
and we're the ones making them. Like
And what did you say
it's
her name was again?
it's
Your partner?
Kelly Rongo.
Mm-hmm.
And she's on Instagram. Everybody should go check her out if you want. She sells coaching and programming. I don't know. It's not like it's a secret, but her and Angelica just linked up for some stuff.
Oh, okay,
And
cool.
she's just a badass. She's super strong, and
Mm-hmm.
she lifts kettlebell. I've been working on her to do kettlebell sport for 3 years now, and she
Uh-huh.
refuses. So, I don't know if I'll ever wear her down into her actually doing it, but I'll probably always try. But she got rid of all her cast iron bells. I really wish, because she lives in New York State, so she's closer to
Mm-hmm.
you than she is to me. I really wish I could get some pro KBs in her hand. I think she'd really like them because she's got
Yeah.
a set of the Rogue competition bells because they have that Fedorenko shape with
Yep.
the flat spots.
Mm-hmm.
Because she really likes training with kettlebells, but she's got this big vein on her forearm right where it sits and it hurts. So she always
Yeah.
hated it. Like I've had
Mm-hmm.
my fair share of forearm issues from kettlebell sport. Um, and so it's great to see how well Pro Kettlebell's doing. Because I think it's such a good thing for the sport to
Yes.
have that ergonomic shape that doesn't just beat your arms up. Because
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't know what to make of it. I think it's a 50-50 thing where people will have issues with their forearms or they won't, like
Right.
it's
Right.
really, like you said earlier, it's really hard for me to hear people say, oh, it's your bad technique is why your forearms got banged up. And I'm like, I don't think that's what it is.
Right.
Like there's no glaring flaw in how I lift them, but yet I've had some pretty serious problems with it sitting on my forearm. Because
Mm-hmm.
I think it just depends on how wide your wrist is and where it sits on your radius. And
Right.
the pro kettlebells just eliminate that being an issue,
Altogether.
with a big, beautiful flat spot because it just,
Right. And it's not even flat. It's like concave.
yeah, like it's
It's like it's
perfect.
designed to like hug you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I will, you know, uh, I wasn't the hugest fan of the hollow part of them,
Hmm.
but the outer shape of them is as perfect as I think you could get it, as
Yeah.
far as, and it's still, it's a, everybody's going to have their parts that they like and they don't like,
Hmm.
and it's also something I kind of got from Joe Daniels too, is he liked to use all the different styles and he'd use cast
Yes.
iron bells. And so I've kind of clung to that a little bit.
Hmm.
Um, and as I haven't been doing long sets, I've been using my Kettlebell Kings bells a lot this year. To be totally honest, mostly because I like the sound more than anything,
Yeah.
like it hurts my soul when I see kettlebell sport videos, especially long cycle, and they don't have the actual sound,
Yeah.
like when they just put the music over it, because I just love that
Oh,
clunk.
uh-huh.
I love the clunk and the
The
clink,
clinking
man.
and the
Like,
clanking.
yeah, yeah, and that
Yes.
if you get a good audible heel stomp in there, it's just
Hmm.
music. I love it. I love it
Hmm.
so much. And it's a fun thing too, because all the different makes of kettlebells all sound different, so it's like
Yeah.
such an individual fun little tidbit to the sport. It's like you can
Yes.
hear it. If guys got certain styles of hollow or filled bells and they sound a certain way.
Hmm.
and then all the hollow bells sound a little different, and it just depends on what kind of steel they're made out of and
Yep.
what's inside them. It's I don't know. I just love it for some reason.
Oh
But
yeah. I love
yeah,
that sound.
yeah, me
Especially
too.
going into the double clean, just hearing
Yeah,
the nice little ride, how they just connect and just ride together in the backswing
hmm
and back up. And then when the handles clank into the
Yep, yep,
rack.
yep, yep.
Yeah, it's a
Yep.
beautiful sound.
You know exactly what I'm talking about. And a nice
Uh-huh.
solid heel stomp. Boom.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's awesome.
So
Yeah, man.
if somebody was looking to get some instructional stuff, your YouTube
Mm.
page is actually blowing up a little bit. You're
Hmm.
putting instructional videos out.
Yep.
Let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so we're every week we're putting out videos on YouTube, primarily informational videos. We're not really doing any like just swinging videos.
Hmm.
But yeah, we're just trying to get all aspects of anything mace swinging, technique wise, intro
Hmm.
wise. The difference between ours and some other ones.
Hmm.
I gotta because of how I clear coat them. Some people run into some rust issues with them over time, and so I'm going to do one on how to like clean your handle and
Yeah.
reapply the clear coat. Yeah, man, there's a lot of people can get really lost in the weeds with the nuances of mace
Yes.
swinging, and for
But
me,
your channel is pretty straightforward,
yeah,
like just instructional. It's not a whole lot of, you're not going to come across you just swinging a mace for 10 minutes. No, you're going to be there
no,
teaching
I'm
and
trying to
showing
I'm
us how to
trying
do
to
it.
yeah, I'm trying to break it down in a way that someone like me can understand. Because like
Right.
when people get talking about like the sagittal plane and circumducting your spine, blah blah blah. It's for me, you know, even though
Trying to
I'm
get
in
super
this,
scientific with it.
yeah, and there's a lot of people that can, use them big words well, but I like to be a little more straightforward,
Right.
like, and there's certain you can get, like I said, real lost in the weeds on the nuances of how to swing it properly. But for someone that's just getting into it, it's that so much of it is just practice, and just so much of
Hmm.
it is just your shoulders and your triceps lengthening and stretching and getting used to those positions, that there's no words that are going to tell you how to get your hands from here to here
Right.
if your triceps are too tight and they're too long. Like, it's only going to be practice, it's only going to be reps, and it's only going to be
Hmm.
adding a little bit of weight over time that's going to get you to
Hmm.
where you can go from here to here. And it just, I always love it when people are talking about all these super finite, insignificant things, and you're like, dude, I just put more weight on it and I throw it behind me and I try to hang on. That like that's how I've done it from the beginning. Is like I
Right.
just like a RPE, like the rate of perceived effort, is basically how I've progressed mace swinging, to where you
Hmm.
swing a weight and it felt super easy. Well, I guess it's time for a little bit more, and you
Right.
put a little bit more on there, and then you swing that for a while until it feels super easy, and then you put a little bit more on. There isn't, in my opinion, like a structured way to do it. No
Right.
one's going to tell you when your body's ready for some more weight. And it's a tool that you can hurt yourself if you go too heavy too soon,
Yes.
like I mean, most everybody, especially getting into it, and especially if you're already strength training and you're a stronger individual, it's really easy to get yourself into trouble with putting too much weight on it, and you're putting extra strain on your tendons.
Hmm.
I gave a mace to that guy I was talking about earlier, from work, that got my ass into gear just getting into lifting again. I gave him a mace, and he was a real, meathead dude. He's real strong, and he was like, "Dude, this
Hmm.
makes my elbows hurt." And I was like, "Well, you got to put less weight on it." And he's like, "Nah, I can't do that." you know? And you're like, "Well, dude, that's the whole point of the mace, man. Like, is especially being adjustable, like you also will hit thresholds where what you used to use isn't enough anymore. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna make a YouTube video about this too. And that's like the dangerous thing about some of these other loadable maces is they have like a high end, like 35 pounds, which when you're
Yeah.
starting might sound like a lot, but I don't deload mine below 40 hardly ever anymore, and
Really?
I'll warm up with 40 and I'll do some 360s, a couple 10 to 2s, and then I'll go right into single arm stuff with it, just
Wow.
because that's what I've been doing,
Yeah,
like
I mean,
there's
you're pretty much conditioned for that.
yeah, there's no reason for me to not do that. Like, and
Right.
that's like a whole other aspect that when we got into this, I didn't even know it was going to be a part of it, because
Mm-hmm.
like I didn't know that's how it would go. I didn't know I'd get to the point where
Right.
a 40-pound mace is fine to just start messing with. And that said, I also have, I have a handful of handles that I have kind of set up, and I do have a club with one of my ramjet heads on it. So it's like this concrete head. Um, and I think it's like 20 pounds altogether, 18 or 20, I can never remember. But I just leave it like that 99% of the time. And
Right.
that's one of my initial warm up things is I swing that club around because it's nice and light, gets some good upper body blood flowing, gives you some
Mm-hmm.
stretching, gives you some extension. And even if I'm doing squats first thing, I love swinging that club around just to get the whole upper body ready to start moving.
Oh yeah.
It's
Mm-hmm.
a great tool for that, which with the way our setup is, you can have one handle, a couple loading pins, and just have them with weights on them, and just move the handle from pin to pin to pin. And
Right.
then you only need the one handle, and you can have multiple loads just sitting there ready to go. You just got to
Oh
thread the
yeah.
handle on and off, which is one of maybe one of those things. I know I did a video on YouTube about it, but one of the harder ones to really explain, like that was for me one of the points of it was to not have to have, like just kind of like Chris Denning said, not have to have 30 maces, but
Right.
you just have one handle and a couple pins, and you already
Mm-hmm.
have. It's real easy to adjust your weight pretty quickly.
And can an individual buy separate pens from you just by
Oh,
themselves?
absolutely. Yeah, yep. We sell pins. We sell.
Cool.
People are starting to kind of figure that one out, and we've been selling more pins on their own now than we kind of ever
Yeah.
have before. So that's cool, and that's like that's what I want. I
Yeah,
want you
that's
to,
good.
because like the standard length isn't super long. If you don't want to swing 10-pound plates, you can't load it super heavy. But if you're new and
How
you
many
buy
plates
that,
are we fitting on that standard pen?
I
Let's
did a
say these
video
five
about it.
pound plates. Yeah.
I think I can get 7.5s on mine. I did a video on this too where I maxed out all of the loading pins with 10-pound plates.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't
Now, how much
remember,
thread do you want to leave?
at least 3/4 of an inch to an inch,
Okay. Yep.
because you're never going to really max out the pencil strength of that 1 inch thread,
Right.
because the book will tell you want an inch of thread, but I've swung some pretty heavy loads with 2 threads. I don't recommend people do that, because you
Yeah.
obviously run a risk of it threading off
Yeah.
of there. But you can get away with 3/4 of an inch or so. And I don't know off the top of my head exactly, but I think with 10-pound plates, I think I got the mace loaded with the handle up to 60 pounds with
Mm-hmm.
the standard length pin. And it was like 90 with the extended pin, and then 120, I think, with the longest pin that we make, which
Okay.
no one's swinging 120 pounds yet,
Yeah.
And I mean,
Yeah.
I just picking that up and putting it on my scale was absurd,
Yeah, I
how
bet.
heavy that was.
Oh yeah.
And like, as cool as like the heavier single arm stuff I've been doing lately is, I swung 75 pounds two-handed a couple weeks ago, dude, and it was way heavy, like
Oh yeah. Oh
anything
yeah.
over anything over 60 still for me two-handed is a pretty serious load.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if I'll ever swing 100 pounds either, but I mean, we'll keep trying. But that's
Oh
that's
yeah.
uh that's a lot of weight, man. And there's just endless variables in between all that, that you can achieve with a handful of plates. And I always recommend people to like I've bought just a couple plates brand new. Uh, Almost everything I have, I got secondhand from Facebook Marketplace,
Mm-hmm.
which, I've got between the dumbbells I've got probably 400 pounds of 1 inch plates that, I
Wow.
never spent that much money on,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
which there's selling points to the 1 inch plates on their own, not to keep blabbing about it, but like someone was asking me about it yesterday at work. And one of the main things with the 1 inch plates, why they're nice, is the ends are almost always rounded. So
Yes.
there's no sharp corners,
Mm-hmm.
for you'll hit yourself, we all do. I've had my moments recently, dude. I whacked my head this morning and I was like,
Really?
what? Yeah, I don't it's just like one of those things. It's a beautiful thing about the mace, because it reminds you that you need to focus,
Mm-hmm.
even though you've swung this particular thing a million times, you still have to pay attention to what you're doing, and I was
Yes.
just doing some warm up swings and just not paying attention, just cracking myself on the forehead, and I was like, oh my God, that hurt. Why did I do that? And just,
Mm,
oh yeah, maybe because you were, thinking about breakfast or something. I don't remember,
right.
but not paying attention to what I should have been paying attention to. But that said, the rounded edge plates versus Olympic plates are typically or would be are safer, because
Yes.
most 5 pound Olympic plates I've seen have like kind of a sharper corner on them,
Mm-hmm.
and you bounce that off of your forehead and it might cut you open.
Yeah, them little 5 pound plates you get from Amazon, the ones that you told me to buy.
Mm-hmm.
They're rounded edges, just super
Yep, yep,
simple.
yep, 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 yep.
Yeah,
That's them
man.
right there, man. And you'll get a lot denser. You can fit a lot more of those on the pin.
Yeah.
And it's just there's no like I got some plates I would imagine are 50 years old. They're like fitness
Mm-hmm.
companies I've never even heard of, from probably back in the
Yeah.
80s and 70s and stuff. But they got like flared ends. They're still rounded, but they got like flared ends and like a hub. And I can't fit that many on that standard pin. But a stack of those is bigger than a stack of those cap plates, so it totally feels different when you swing it. Like it's
Oh yeah.
as you get more and more used to how the mace feels, any different density of the load will feel different, and it's a super fun aspect to it. I did a YouTube video about that too. I think Kelly posted that one. I can't remember, but I got like old school plastic concrete weights, and like
Oh.
I loaded a mace to the same weight with like fives, with tens, with those plastic ones, and then I make a spherical shot fillable head that threads on there. We call it the canteen.
Oh,
And
nice.
talking about big rigs and stuff, mine's full of old semi truck wheel bearings from work.
Nice.
They'd be
Uh-huh.
throwing all these wheel bearings away all the time, and I just would torch the cages open and take all the bearings out.
Yep.
So mine's full of those. But just the different loads you can put on the same handle all feel like a totally different mace.
Yeah.
It's a super fun thing
What do you
to
think that
mess
boils
around
down
with.
to, like the weight distribution?
Yeah, it's a weight distribution thing. I imagine there's, to some extent a wind drag issue,
Mm-hmm.
on how fast it moves. I mean, even just fives and tens feel totally different because not only is
Yeah.
the length of the mace shorter with tens, but they're also a more compact disc, like three tens
Mm-hmm.
versus six fives or six tens versus 12 fives. Like the size and shape of it gets so different, and it's just going to move through the air different. The length of the arc is
Mm-hmm.
going to be different, and excuse me, all of those things will feel different when you swing it. You know, and
Yeah, for sure.
it's a super fun deal. And like those concrete heads that Mike Ricole, was making. I don't know if he's making them anymore, but he just took some 1 inch bolts and just because the end of our handle is threaded 1 inch 8 national course thread,
Mm-hmm.
and he just cast these 1 inch bolts into these traditional concrete gata head molds that he has, and he made
Yeah.
these heavy concrete heads that you can thread onto the handles. And he made probably 20 of them and sold them to different people. And I got a big one and a little one. Kelly's got one. But it feels totally different too, because now, like mine is my big one he made out of a lighter weight concrete. So it's 12 inches in diameter, but it only, with the handle, only weighs 34 pounds. So it's kind of, for me at this point, kind of a lighter weight, but it's this huge head, and it just handling it is just a totally different deal than, 4 or 5 or 5.5s would be.
Yeah.
And it makes it's just super fun and, looks different. The big stacks of plates always look cool, but the spherical heads look cool too,
Oh,
so
yeah.
it's just fun, different things. And then like stuff like with the club, if you're doing mills where you swing it around in front of you, I don't like running 10-pound plates on my club because I just barely glanced my shin.
Ooh.
I think I had 45 pounds on there.
Oh.
And it did not feel good at all. And it's just like, obviously a guy just can be conscientious of it and just lean it out a little bit farther and be fine. For me at this point, I'll run a longer
smack the shin.
Oh yeah, dude, I'll run a longer pin and run 5s, or I even got some 7.5s, which even the 7.5s are like an inch smaller on an overall diameter than the 10s. So like they're a lot more compact than the 10s are. But the 10s are less small than my big ramjet head. So like whenever people are saying that the 10s are too big, it's like, no, you just got to get used to it.
Yeah.
In the backswing, just be conscious of it and just keep your hands just a little bit out from your neck, and that'll float it away from your body. Which is all you have to. If you're hitting yourself all the time, that's all you got to remember. Is just as you go into the backswing, just the tiniest bit of tension in your triceps, just to help hold it away from you, and you won't hit yourself nearly as often. But I glance my most of my videos. You can hear the handle hitting my butt. So it's just
right.
One of those things. Is what it is.
Yeah. Huh.
But yeah, it's all fun stuff.
Yeah, for sure. I know you're super busy with work and actually manufacturing and building these things. You're busy with the YouTube channel. Are you taking clients? Do you do some coaching as well, or what?
I don't. That's one avenue I still don't give myself the credit required for. I'm not there myself to where I'd want to have anybody pay me any money, to tell them to do anything. Kelly, I don't know where she's at, but she takes clients. She does nutrition coaching and she does strength and conditioning coaching. And she's an awesome coach. She posts awesome stuff about her clients' results all the time. And she's super smart. We sell a beginner MACE program on our website, and she wrote it.
Cool.
And so that it's a super simple, easy to handle and use and progress stuff. For someone that wants.
Just that you put out information on YouTube, instructional videos. I think that speaks volumes, man, and we appreciate it.
Yeah, and it's one of those things, like we talked about.
I know, I watch all of them.
yeah. Well, good. That's cool. That's awesome to hear, man. Because that's how I got my start into all of this stuff. Is I had access to information I was looking for, and it was, the way Joe Daniels would do stuff is it was all very easily digestible, easy to understand.
Yep.
Not overly scientific stuff that doesn't make sense to you.
It's like you said, the best way that I can put it is like lamest terms.
Yeah. We could talk about the transverse plane and stuff, but how about you do your kettlebell swings cover your front and back, and the mace covers your side to side. That's as complicated as it needs to be for me. You don't have to talk about anything with extra syllables.
Right. Which all that stuff, I think, has a place, and
It
for
does for
those, for
sure.
the intellectuals who like to, read about it, or hear someone that's scientific speak about it. I think, I enjoy those conversations as well, especially like that conversation with James Ross,
Hmm.
where he's super scientific and he's getting into all these
Yeah.
different studies. I find that stuff interesting as well. But when when I can just hear like a guy like you and I, we know for a fact, you know, on the same level of, language.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And that was a big point of ours, is that we wanted to make the videos that way,
Right.
and it's a cool thing. It's Kelly's the coach that can talk to you about that sort of stuff.
Yes. Hmm.
She can look at all the diagrams on her fitness watch and really know what all of it means. Whereas I'm one of those ones like, don't even wear it. It's like, I don't care that you're tired. We're training today, is the way
Right.
I've always looked at it. Um, but there's obviously pluses and minuses to all of it. Like the
Hmm.
fitness tracking stuff is it is super duper cool. But I'm always just like hesitant and like, you don't know how you feel till you get in there. We've all had those nights where like, you sleep terrible and yet you
Oh
still
yeah,
get up and do it, like hit a PR.
that's
And then you
right.
have those days where you don't even see it coming and you hit a freight train on your warm up, like.
Hmm.
And for me, I just like living my life that way, where I'm like, we'll see how we feel. Like we get up at
Yeah.
4:30 during the week and we train, and we got to make adjustments on the fly. We make those adjustments. I don't ever let, like, I've had a couple of them, and I'm starting to kind of figure out what part of my programming is doing it. Where I
Hmm.
hit, if I do deadlifts during the week, I've noticed lately my kettlebell conditioning sets suffer the following day. And I don't know if that's just because I'm still getting back used to them after that injury over the summer or what. But I've had a couple kettlebell sessions where I had this idea of what I wanted to do, and I get going, and I'm like, well, that's that's
That
that's not happening
didn't go.
today.
That
Yeah.
didn't go how I planned.
Yeah, 1 inch rests, I think, will be 2 minute, or yeah, 1 minute rests will be 2 minute rests today. And all of my training is that way anyway right now, which has just been really nice to not have like any anxiety about how the session's going to go.
Right.
But
Hmm.
I can't remember. Oh yeah, talk about the nuanced stuff. Yeah, there's plenty of
Hmm.
people out there that love to talk about that, and I totally agree. I love hearing about scientific studies. I'd really like to see. I can't even think of what those machines are called, but the ones with all the that reads your muscle output,
Yeah.
um, activation or whatever. I'd really like to see one of those done on someone swinging a mace, because the mace seems to impact people pretty different.
Yeah.
Some guys will say they get their lats really sore. I've never really got my lats sore. My triceps are what get nuked when I
Really.
swing the mace. Yeah, my
Hmm.
triceps. I mean, my grip, not typically. My grip usually hangs in there, but my triceps get smoked and I don't really feel it in my lats. But I know my lats are engaging. I know my core engages. There's so many different muscles that are activated when you're doing that heavy
Right.
pullover from the mace that I just really love to see the studies on it. I mean, I'd be even super
Yeah.
curious to see how much of your legs get activated, because
Yeah.
they're involved too. Um, Especially, like one of my favorite swing patterns or styles is to do the tradition, what they call the traditional. Typically, it's traditional 10 to 2s, is what they, if you say you're doing traditional swings, it's typically a 10 to 2 with your ankles touching,
Okay.
which now your base is not spread out anymore. And now your focus on your balance and your counterbalance goes through the
Hmm.
roof, and it is totally a thing where you can get real lost in the weeds about how to do it versus just
Right.
put your feet together and swing the mace and see what happens, and then like
Right.
you'll naturally realize instantly what you have to do, as you cast it back that way, you go this way. And that,
Right.
and that
Hmm.
to me, the traditional swings, really helped iron in my uh, technique. There's certain
Yeah,
motions and swing patterns for me that help the most, and traditionals were one of them for sure. Because like
right.
it will tip you over if you don't do it right.
Oh,
Uh,
absolutely. I believe it.
yeah, man, and it's
Yeah, I always thought that was awesome. And I've mimicked you on that. The feet together
yeah,
on
yeah, yeah,
the mace swinging.
yeah.
And
That's
every once in a while I'll pull my feet apart a little bit, but I
mhm.
kind of like the that offset, more of an offset that you have to do with the feet together.
Yeah, it's great. You can take, it'll make a lighter load feel heavy, and
Hmm.
then especially as you get into the single arm work, you can start doing single arm traditional 10 to 2s. And you can do 360s too, but for me, I just like the back and forth aspect of the 10 to 2.
Yes.
And that's something that you and Denning touched on also that I wanted to reiterate. Like some people make a big deal about switching your grip, doing
Yes.
two-handed swings. I don't anymore because I just do so much single arm stuff. Like I don't really
Right.
think it. I mean, you're talking a couple inches. Granted, they feel totally different when you do switch your
Yes.
grip, but for what I'm trying to do, I can't imagine any amount of back development or tricep development being different because my hands are different,
Okay.
And like I said, I do so much single arm anyway, that it doesn't really matter. I wouldn't
Right.
think, you know.
Yeah, I mean that
So
makes total sense. But I tend to try to switch my hands, and because I feel like if the the bottom hand gets more of a stretch around
mhm.
here, so I just try to switch it up so I can get that same amount on the opposite side.
And there's definitely that's true, 100% true. The
Hmm.
bottom hand will get stretched just a little bit farther, but
Yep.
you go into single arm and it's going to get stretched even farther than that.
Yeah.
Like
Hmm.
nothing is going to hit. Like your single arm will stretch it the farthest, regardless.
Yes.
So that's where I've just made that point in my training that I do. I don't have like a number written down or anything, but I just do a lot of single arm work, and then if I'm
Right.
doing two hand, I just keep my right hand. I'm one of those weirdos. I'm right handed, but I like my right hand on the bottom,
Hmm.
um, like a left handed baseball swing is how I like it. And like I said, I used to mix the grip up a lot, and there's some fun mental stuff. I'm trying to think of the right word, but some hand-eye coordination, acuity kind of
Hmm.
things you can practice with hand switches, which are great,
Right.
which will translate into kettlebell sports stuff when you get into hand insertion and just learning how to try to change those tiny micro adjustments, like saying like snatch, where you're inserting late or early.
Hmm.
I think, all that mental training with your hands has a lot of benefit. But
Yeah.
just for me at this point, and what I'm trying to do, I'm like, if I'm two handing it, I'm putting 60 plus pounds on, and we're just
Right.
not messing with the grip.
I just had a thought process come back into my brain. Earlier on, I was going to ask you about this, but have you ever done the pentathlon? I think I was trying to guide it that
Oh,
way through Joe Daniels because I was asking, you started with, following and drinking that Kool-Aid. Have you ever done the pentathlon because of him?
no. I've done some 5 minute ones with like the online kettlebell cup challenge on
Okay,
Facebook.
yeah. Hmm.
I've done the 5 minute ones a few times. I've always just been such a weak presser that
Hmm.
that's that's one of the ones that always just kind of would smoke me.
Right.
And I haven't. I've done a
Look,
lot of half
I
snatch.
know, I know you've been touching on this bodybuilding thing, right? And I know you
Hmm.
got a love for kettlebell sport. And here's where also I was going with this is like, for me, I'm like trying to get out of the mindset that I have to do doubles to be
Hmm.
like anything, right?
Hmm.
So pentathlon is like it's it is that conditioning work, right? That you know
Mhm.
and love from kettlebell sport, but it's also a little bit of that hypertrophy that we love and develop through barbell and regular training, right? It's
Oh, for
this
sure.
for me personally, this has been like the perfect blend of
Yeah.
this what I like, you know?
No, that's
I
interesting.
say give it a try there, brother.
Well, like we were talking about, if I had more time, you know, like that's like
Well,
that's the
you got the
thing, man.
time. Trust me, you
I
got the
know.
time. You're
I
putting an
just
hour into the barbell now. You can pick the bell back up.
I'll have to do it at some point. Me and Alexander Klausik
Well,
talked
look,
about that quite a bit
speaking of Joe
too.
Daniels, he has a phenomenal pentathlon program. He's got a
Yeah.
6 week version and a 12 week version that I'm pretty sure is the package deal, right?
Nice.
Uh,
Nice.
I picked it up because we ran a cycle of that. It works great. So
Awesome. No, it's funny. Me and Alexander Klausik spent some time talking about this and trying to figure out kind of the chicken or the egg on pentathlon and
mhm.
whether does pentathlon make you big and muscular or do big and muscular guys like pentathlon?
Oh,
Because like you look at pentathlon, especially like the worlds and stuff, most of those dudes are pretty
yeah. Yeah. I mean,
on
you're
the
looking at
more
I
muscular
mean,
dudes.
Gareth
Levi
Malloy,
Marquardt. Yeah.
Levi,
There's that
dude, Kevin
Italian,
Duong.
there's that Italian guy. I can't think of his name right now,
Is his
but
name Alice? Not Alessandro, is it?
well, no, I mean that's maybe you're thinking of that Australian dude, but there's a
Maybe.
bald-headed Italian dude that him and Levi look very similar. Like he's pretty
Uh-huh.
jacked, and he's a
Right.
pentathlon guy.
Mm-hmm.
There's a whole bunch of them, and me and Alexander are like, well, maybe it's because
That's
they
what
have
I'm saying,
shitty.
man.
Maybe
It's
it's just because they all have shitty double bell rack fixate or position, and so they get
hey,
into
it's very possible.
pentathlon.
Right, it's very
But
possible. But then again,
pentathlon.
because they're a little bigger, in this area, it makes it a little harder to, hit that double rack. Maybe
And
it's
it's,
just,
pentathlon's the only lift where the 40 and the 48 are really involved, so
you
there's
can go
that
all the
whole
way up to
aspect of it
72
too.
kg with the
Jeez.
pin. What's up, Bubba? Now, I mean,
Yeah,
I've never
no,
seen it, but I think Kevin Duong right now is training with 48s and 50s.
damn.
It's crazy
Yeah,
stuff.
man,
I was
crazy.
just talking to Del Wilson today.
Hmm.
He's doing a 44 clean his next
Nice,
pentathlon.
nice. Yeah, and then on that same aspect, that Theon guy, that he's like a super unassuming dude, and he
Yeah.
crushes the pentathlon.
Yes.
You
Like
know,
I'm thinking about reaching out to him for some coaching.
he'd be a good one to talk to for sure.
Yeah.
He's super good at it.
He's
And
putting out world champions, dude. And it's
yeah,
not even necessarily that I want to be a world champion. It's just like, why not? He's
yeah, and that's the beautiful thing about the sport is like it's small enough now still to where you can reach out to these guys like Dennis Vasilev, um,
I'm down, baby.
Alexander
Going back in the house.
Kostov.
I'm almost
You
done.
know,
Daddy, how much time?
About 5 or 10 more minutes.
What?
5 or 10 more minutes. Go ahead. I'll be in there in a minute.
yeah. My kids have
I
been.
just rescued some kittens, so
Oh,
they're
nice,
out here in the gym now. The kids they want to spend all their time out here with the
nice,
kittens.
nice. My kids have been peeking through the door a couple of times,
Uh-huh.
so
We've been
I
on.
guess.
This is run a little over 2 hours already,
Oh
brother.
my God, I was wondering. I was like,
Time
I
time
don't
is
have a clock I can
flying.
see. Well, you know me. If you want me to, if you want to hear me talk, we'll talk about maces and kettlebells, and I can
Uh-huh.
talk. So,
Yes. Well, I
but
mean, what was you going to say? Finish
uh,
your.
I now I can't remember.
We were
But
talking some pentathlon stuff.
I'll have to give it a whirl. Maybe I'll do that tomorrow. Maybe I'll do a little mini one tomorrow and see what I can do.
Yeah.
But it looks like my wife is about to take my kids to my mom and dad, so I guess I should probably
All
get
right, look,
going. But
I'll send you your challenge. I'll send you a
all
challenge
right.
for you to try tomorrow.
All right, that sounds good. That sounds good,
All
man.
right.
And because that I usually lift my sandbag on Sunday, and we didn't even get into sandbags, so
Nope, we didn't get a chance.
we gotta.
You and I could do this for hours, man.
I think we could. between the
Yeah.
tangent about work for 45 minutes and then actually what we like
That
to
was about
do.
that was about a 20-minute rant.
Yeah, there's still stuff I wanted to tell you about. I guess I will just real fast because I think you'll appreciate it. When we went to Disneyland last year, and we were in line for the Guardians of the Galaxy ride, which is the old Tower of Terror, they had, I'll have to send you the picture, but they had set decorations, anything spaceship looky stuff, right? Just like stuff to hang
Yeah.
around while you're waiting in line. And they had two of these double actuated chain falls that I believe were 16-ton chain falls with an 8-part chain,
Wow.
which I'd never seen a chain fall that big, and they had two of these ones. They're made in Pennsylvania, probably in the 50s or 40s, like they don't make them anymore because we have electric hoists now.
Right.
If you need something, if you're going to lift 16 tons, you don't want to be doing it with a chain fall.
Right.
But somebody for Disney found these things and hung them up in line, and I like see them and I'm like, dude, and I'm like moving people out of the way so I could take pictures of these things, just because it's cool. I love the old industry stuff that we have that's still around. And just
some
man,
of these old elevators I walk into, it's like, damn, this thing is still going. And it was built in, I've seen some elevators from like the early 1900s, like,
oh, that's awesome.
Like 1915 or 1920 or whatever. Right here in Virginia, few years ago, I was just started at a new company, so I know you got to go.
Yeah,
but anyway,
right.
It's the Freemasons building down here in Alexandria, right? So just
awesome.
Google it. But on the bottom floor, the two elevators, there's two elevators in the building. On the bottom floor, the elevators are about 100 feet apart.
Oh,
well,
man.
on the top floor, when you come out of the top floor, you're coming out of the elevators right next to each other. So what does that tell you? These elevators got to ride up like this. It is the wildest thing. I was on top of these elevators. Cool. I think we had to shorten cables or something. But it is the wildest thing. These elevators got to move like this.
Yeah, that's super cool, man. They made some cool stuff back in the day. I tip my hat to the old stuff all the time. Yeah, we could go on and on about it for sure. But
we'll have to do this again.
All right, sounds good, brother. Well, thanks for having me on, man. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. I appreciate the talk, man.
Yeah, it's been fun, and we'll do it again, all right?
Yes, sir. All right, enjoy the family.
Right. Yep, you too, man. I'll touch you later.